cell number? Can you forward it?
You're listening to The John Kincade Show, Philadelphia's longest-running sports talk morning show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia. The show starts.
Good to get rolling with you on a Tuesday morning where we're not usually in our live performance studio, but we will be today on the John Kincade Show. Angelo Cataldi joins us a little bit later on at 8 o'clock to discuss his new book, Loud, and talk about his career and the Philadelphia sports scene, so you want to be here for that. Plus, the prize wheel is going to be wild today. Yeah. Double prize available for someone at 8 a.m., so they want to be here. I've been around enough locker rooms, professional teams, and locker rooms over the years to know when things start to unravel a bit. And one of the things that I took away yesterday is that the Philadelphia Eagles might be having some of those issues. I am not in there on a daily basis. I am not speaking from a position of I understand everything that's going on. But what I will tell you is what has been made public. I've seen before, I've heard before, and it never has ended well. When players start to talk to the media members and start questioning their coaches and start questioning the predictability, as Derek Gunn reported, the predictability of play calls, locker room whisper campaigns, I have seen it a million times. I've seen it in baseball. I saw it with Freddie Gonzalez over the years. I've seen it with multiple NFL coaches, other coaches in sports. It's never a good sign because then it appears that things are sort of losing a little bit of losing hold of the camaraderie, the brotherhood in the locker room. If the Eagles lose because they aren't good enough on the field, to me that's one thing. What is that breathing sound I'm hearing? It's weird. If the Eagles lose because of their poor play on the field, I get it. If the Eagles lose because their campaign breaks down because of players being disillusioned and then starting the whisper campaign of we're not pleased with this, we're not pleased with that, I won't take them losing that way. I won't accept that, Bob, but it very well could end up happening. We haven't heard this since Nick Sirianni took over the Eagles. Everything has been on lockdown. The Doug Peterson administration became a whisper campaign, became leaks, became people talking out of turn. I hate seeing this, and I'm hoping it isn't part of what could potentially be the unraveling of the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles.
I have been as surprised by the reaction of this city over the last couple of days as I have the play of the Philadelphia Eagles lately.
Explain.
Like, Nick Sirianni's not as great a coach as everybody thought he was. First of all, if you thought he was a great coach, and I'm not denying anything Nick Sirianni has done, and I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, who out there was going on this campaign of, he's one of the greatest coaches ever? He's in his third year. He's still proving himself. Yeah, maybe our expectations, are a little down because of what is going on now. But my God, all right, you've hit a rough patch. Pull your pants up and get through it. Both as players, coaches, and fans. Okay, yeah, we're ticked the way they played the last two games. But now it has to go to this isn't who we thought they were. I saw a national guy, Howie Roseman, fool's gold. He really sold you on a bill of goods. What did he sell us? He put together what he thought was the best team. We're the ones that ate it up. We're the ones as fans that said, oh, man, this team's going to the Super Bowl. Okay, they've hit on a rough patch. Maybe they still will go. Maybe they won't go. But, I didn't see the Eagles or Sirianni or anybody going around carrying championship signs before the season started.
No.
That swayed us to say he's the best coach ever. Howie's the best GM ever. Okay, you hit a rough patch. What are you going to do about it? Sit and cry and say, things are folding with this organization. Or are you going to look to get better?
One thing I will say, though, Bob, is that it doesn't, to me, one of the reasons Doug Peterson left and was fired was because of the fact that of some poor hiring practices that he had that he defended to the end when Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman both wanted changes to be made. And that became the standoff. One thing I will say is I think Nick Sirianni's been a great coach. I think he's done a great job, but it's way too early to make any grand statements about what he is. I know his record is one of the all-time best for a guy in his third year. But that said, His hiring practices, I questioned it in the offseason, so I'm not doing 2020 hindsight. I really did think it was a mistake to go with two unproven coordinators. And with a Super Bowl team, with a team that was their thing, to go with two guys who've never done it, like really to any level, Desai did it for 1 year. I thought it was a misjudgment on their part.
Okay, so you're not solely blaming Sirianni.
Oh no.
Okay,
because we know the owner and the GM get involved in coaching decisions.
Well,
we saw that with Doug Peterson.
Right. It would be a drastic, complete turnaround to what happened with Peterson, where he wanted to bring guys back, and it appears Howie and Jeffrey Lurie wouldn't allow him to. Why they would just let Sirianni then hire his own coordinators would be baffling. So, yeah, I don't think it was his decision alone about who to bring in here. But, yeah, okay, you've hit a rough patch. It's not a secret. We said it before the season how suspect the defense was going to be, how you couldn't rely on 70 sacks again, of course. It's okay. You're hitting a rough patch here. I'm not kidding you. I sat at home yesterday and looking on Twitter, but among the national, local, all over the place local, of this, he's not who we thought he was. How we saw you fools go. Okay, I'm sorry. If sports were as predictable as these people are making it out to be, why do you have an NCAA football national championship? Why do you have playoffs? Why do you have this? Just anoint the best team the champion and move on.
Do you consider this, Pat, a rough patch? Or do you consider, because Bob used the term rough patch. I think I'm sort of there with Bob, but I have the danger feeling that the rough patch may be something more than just a little patch.
I mean, ultimately, we'll find out, as the season goes on. But, yeah, I think we're in the middle of a rough patch, but there is a chance that this is it, right? Like, this isn't a rough patch. This is the faults of a team. This
who they are?
Warts coming out, yeah. Now, I'm looking at it like, hey, a couple weeks ago, we were 10-1 and flying high, and you can get back to that, but there's a very realistic chance that, yeah, this is it. I will lean towards you can fix it. You can fix some things. You can tweak some things. You can make it right, because nothing that has come out of the locker room and nothing that we've discussed isn't fixable. Other than, all right, your linebackers aren't great. But they've addressed that. They've tried to fix that. They go out and they get Shaq Leonard. He only played 17% of the snaps. You figure that's going to tick up in Seattle. Cunningham comes back. So most of the things, at least we've talked about, they're all fixable. It's scheme crap. Now it's up to the coaches to put their ego aside, which we've seen Sirianni do before, and go, all right, what I decided to do isn't really working anymore. I have to adjust. And that's the big question. Can Brian Johnson and Sean Desai put their egos aside and go, all right, I got to switch this up?
And I think that's where my frustration comes from a little bit, John, is, I'm a day-to-day guy.
You are definitely day-to-day, more than anyone I've ever met.
And like the tweets that I'm seeing, back in the offseason, they didn't do this. Or Howie, like I said, fool's gold and all of that. And then it goes to, and watch how bad they're going to be next year. My God, can you just fix what's here now? Live in the moment of saying, all right, what's going on with this team? Yeah, they're deficient at different places. How do you fix it? What do you do? What's the scheme? What's coming up? How can it get better now? Now we're going back to the offseason, and we're looking forward to saying, yeah, they're not going to be any good next year. Okay.
Well, the one thing I would say is that I don't know that the San Francisco loss and what caused it is fixable. But I do know that what caused them to lose the Dallas game, or at least to not be in it till the last minutes of the game, is fixable. When you turn the ball over 3 times in enemy territory, that's fixable. That's stuff you can fix. That's stuff you can potentially repair. The San Francisco game, to me, and Pat, I'm more convinced than ever, it doesn't feel like something that can just be, if we did this scheme-wise, we win this game. I feel like they were out-talented that day. And that they were exploited by superior talent. And by the way, superior coaching on that day.
Yeah,
on that day.
They got, I don't want exposed, maybe not be the right word, but for lack of a better one, I'll use exposed. I do, though, remind myself that team was well rested and the Eagles were not.
Right.
And the Eagles came out with their hair on fire and then don't convert on some red zone opportunities. And
so it reminds them Monday night.
And then next thing you know, the second quarter hits. And, for a good portion of that game, for a quarter of that game, they were dominating it. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was Kyle Shanahan, and it probably was, just figuring out how to scheme around it, but all of a sudden, they just stopped playing. The problem with the 49ers, too, and we were talking about this on the pregame show, they're bullies. And I mean that as a compliment. Like, they will beat your ass, and then they will remind you about it and beat your ass some more. And the Eagles allowed it to happen. And we talked about the Bradbury stuff before the game, like, just walking through and
pushing a player.
Yeah, and it's got me sitting there going like, "Can we get Ndamukong Suh in here just to be a bodyguard?"
Yeah,
I've never seen so much love to a person to a team's bodyguard in my life other than Dom DeSandro. So
I'm tired of that story.
Which
by the way.
yeah, me
could
too.
It just be over?
The updates on Sunday whether or not he'd be on the sideline.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
give a rat's ass. But
Neither do I.
But it goes to like this team lacks balls, for a lack of a better term. I mean, they just don't.
Unlike the Flyers.
Yeah, they don't have it. Like, they just don't. I mean, they don't have that like FU mentality, and they need it.
I mean, John Tortorella said it. He goes, the Flyers have balls.
Yeah.
Did the Eagles have balls? Because if the Eagles have balls, they're going to come out on Monday night, and they are going to impose their will on an inferior team on the road who may have their backup quarterback playing. And if not, then maybe it is who they are, Bob.
Well, yeah, this is probably all what you get and what you don't get with the mentality that they have been preaching to us that they have, where it's all even keel. It's the next step. It's that climb up the mountain. All of that. Well, it's probably going to frustrate you when things are going bad that they're not coming out and saying more than they do. Just like when they win, they don't come out and say more that they do. Like, yeah, we're playing great. We love our team. It's always the next step, and it's boring. And we tried to warn each other, and we talked about it, that, look, when things start to go bad, this is probably going to get on your nerves more than it does when they win. And here it comes. Yeah, the whispering in the locker room.
That's never a good sign.
No, predictability and all. Yeah, going to the media. Yeah, not good.
Anonymously going to the media.
Yeah, you want to talk about it with your teammates, with your coaches. You wonder who's saying it. But, you know, it'll probably, if I had my druthers and I'm the head coach, everybody comes in. Hey, guys, you know, we keep this to ourselves.
Who would have your druthers if you didn't have them? I mean, you have your druthers. Like, and you keep them at home. Do you? What are druthers, by the way?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like I say to my wife all the time. Are buttons cute?
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, I've never looked at a button and go, oh, my God, that's a cute button.
Yeah, I mean,
what is that?
You know, not to get off your button and brothers crap. I like the fact that it got out.
Why?
Because I like the fact that maybe it'll wake up this coaching staff to realize, like, hey, it's not sunshine and rainbows and
good point,
all that. Like, Sirianni bringing everybody in and going, hey, guys, keep your criticism in-house. Maybe they have. Like, maybe they brought it up to decide. Maybe they brought it up to Brian Johnson, like, yo, maybe we should try this or that. And those two guys are so hard-headed because, hey, we're 10-1.
It could.
Hey, we're 10-2.
Could be.
Now there's a chance that what you guys are talking about, it goes backwards and it backfires, and I've had that thought too. But the other side of it is, like, maybe they needed this to leak out of, like, hey guys, your crap doesn't stink, or your crap does stink.
Yeah,
that was it.
And look who it was given to.
Good
One
analogy,
of the most
Pat.
trusted media members there is.
Absolutely.
Among the Eagles is Derek Gunn. Look, I've seen it happen before. I've been the guy who's taken it before, that it could have been players got together and said, hey, you go tell him this and tell him it's okay to say what I said. It could be. It could be the player. Look, I'm just throwing this out
and
there.
And the fact that it went to Derek, you are absolutely correct.
Yeah,
a guy with a sterling reputation.
It could have been thought out by not just that player. Now, maybe it was a player going off. I don't know which one it was, but I just want to put that in people's minds because I've seen it happen, and I've had players come to me with it. It could have been hey, we got to get together and get this out in public because they're just not hearing us. I don't know. But, Pat, you make a great point. Maybe this is more the better than it is the bad.
I had multiple players one time about an NFL coach who went on radio in Seattle and said, my dream job would be to coach the University of Washington. And that was Jim Mora. And he said that. And I had multiple players on the sly say, he's done with us. He's done. He's lost this locker room.
Well, any chance.
He's lost the locker room.
Anytime you get to coach the University of Washington, how could you say no to that?
Seriously.
You know, go Huskies. Am I right,
Yes,
Bobby?
Weather's beautiful.
That Jim Mora. But, I mean, it happens. I've never seen this. I've never seen it end well, though. I can't think of a situation where people start whisper down the lane campaigns about we're not pleased with this doesn't look good, where it's ended well. And that concerns me because every single time that I reference in my brain, it ended poorly.
Well, the ones that we probably don't remember, the ones that nothing happened. that we probably don't remember the times players came out and said stuff and then it went away and things continued or got better after that. I wouldn't say no matter what, it's not. Look, Nick Sirianni's going to get fired at some point.
At some point.
We all know that. It could be 10 years down the road. But I don't think it's there. That's why I'm surprised they lost 2 games in a row.
It's amazing.
You know what I was amazed by last night, John? I'm watching the Miami game a little bit, right? Miami's 9-3 on the season. They get an interception early in the game, get a touchdown. Fans are going nuts, players, all that stuff. Forget the ending, what happened. This was early in the game. And I'm like, wow, look how happy these fans and this team is to try to get to 10-3.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're spoiled rotten. But the thing is, that's the expectation when you lose the Super Bowl. That the only thing that's going to please us is if we get another shot, another bite at the apple.
Yeah.
And that is so incredibly hard to do. And right now, a reminder to what Bob's point is, the Eagles have one of the best records ever for a team that lost the Super Bowl the year before. That's incredible. They're doing better at handling that Super Bowl hangover than any team has done that we can reference. So I ask you this, and we'll start the show with this, and you can get into 610-632-0975. The idea of the little whisper campaign going right now, do you see that as a crack? Do you see that as something falling apart? I don't, and I'm glad to hear Bob come there because we didn't talk about it before the show. I feel the same way. I feel like this is a bump on the road.
Now,
I think people are going to feel stupid in like 3 weeks when everybody's piling back on the bandwagon.
So while I say I'm surprised at the reaction, don't misconstrue, not you, but listeners.
Sure.
That I think they're playing crap football right
they
now,
are,
and
absolutely.
They better as hell fix it, because if not, they're not going anywhere. My point being, like, the ends of the earth that we're going to over 2 straight losses and how they're playing just surprises me a little bit.
610-632-0975. Overreaction or not, 610-632-0975. I think by New Year's Eve night, there are gonna be people taping their ankles to climb back on board the bandwagon. It's the John Kincade Show. We're live in our performance studio today, which David Otto usually brings you that here. We got the beautiful setup here. We'll have our audience showing up for a special Tuesday edition. Angelo Cataldi promotes his book Loud with us in the 8 o'clock hour. And thanks for hanging out with us. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. You know, the BetParks Casino and Sportsbook app, it's absolutely amazing. I love it. I love the fact that I can be watching college football, pro football. I can be watching an NBA game. And in the midst of the game, I can then make a live tonight. And nobody has a problem going into Wawa. You'll love it. Check out Wawa gift cards. They're awesome. Your selection is fantastic. And remember, everybody deserves a little Wawa.
Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
6 a.m. sponsor is Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. Angelo Cataldi joins us at 8 a.m. this morning on the show. You can tune in on our YouTube channel. The prize wheel is going to be awesome today because it's double. Yeah. It's a double prize wheel opportunity. And, Pat, I got informed I did it wrong yesterday, so I'll do it right today.
It's all right.
We'll see.
I mean, did you do it wrong? Because we got a winner.
Yeah, the rules of there are a lot of rules in these things. I think
Make a good point, Pat.
I think it went right.
Did you really do it wrong, John? You had a winner.
We had a winner.
That's all that matters.
And we won 2 for 2 today.
We made dreams come true yesterday.
8 o'clock. We hope that you'll join us for that. So, and I asked right off the start of the show today is I have never. We see now whispers coming out of the Eagles locker room. That has been something, and I am not speaking from a position of power, of understanding of, hey, I'm in that locker room 3 times a week. A lot of people try to give you that illusion on sports talk radio. No, I'm dealing with just with what has been made public by very reputable media members. And to me, I've never seen that end well for a coach, for an administration. I'm hoping that this is just going to be something that can be passed over. Dom from Glassboro is on the line at 610-632-0975. Dom, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. What do you think about those locker room whispers?
On the surface, it's not something you want to say. Like you say, it never really ended well. But at the same time, we're at a point in the season where they may need something drastic to really change this offense around, especially the offense. You guys remember last year where it seemed like whenever a team would give us the ball first, it almost seemed like, yo, that's stepping on the field.
They scored on every drive someone gave them the ball first. Every time on a coin flip, they scored on that drive. Only once was it a field goal. Every other time was a touchdown.
Exactly. And the offense, it just doesn't have that flow anymore. Even the plays we do make, it doesn't seem like it's coming easy. Everything feels like Jalen either has to drop the ball in the perfect spot or Devontae and AJ, they have to make an amazing catch. So I hope it's something that gets the offense back in the room. It could be a sign of unraveling, but at this point, we got to get back on track if we want to go anywhere in January.
Thanks, Tom. Any idea, guys, why the Birds are 3.5-point underdogs on Monday night?
Not playing well in Seattle. They don't play. I'm with you. Like
I jumped on it this morning already. As soon as I saw the hook, the 3 and a hook, I took it.
I never buy into like, oh, well, the team hasn't won in Seattle since blah, blah, blah. Like, new team.
Has nothing to do with
new
this
team.
right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
No, I mean, Las Vegas is just playing what the fans are thinking, what the betting people are thinking. Everybody's saying, oh, the Eagles suck right now. Why would you make them a favor to have all the money go one way and have a chance to lose it all that way?
Yeah, and that's what people are jumping on. I jumped on it. As soon as I saw it on the BetParks app, 3.5, I'm like, done, finished. Because I do not believe they're going to Seattle and losing this game. I just don't. And that's terrible because they've given me every reason to have at least mild doubt.
I am 100% with you. Like,
you really are too.
Yeah. Look at the 2 teams that they lost to the last 2 weeks. They lost to San Francisco, who is now the Super Bowl favorite, and they lost to the Dallas Cowboys, who are 10-3 right there with you. Like, they didn't lose to Tommy DeVito.
Right, exactly.
They lost to like the creme de la creme of the league. All right, you want to throw the Jets game in there, that whatever. But I'm with you. Like, I don't think Geno Smith or Drew Lock, and God, I hope on Monday I'm not regretting this, but I don't think that the Eagles are so bad and the deficiencies are so big that you still can't manage to beat those guys. I think this team is good enough despite the deficiencies to go into Seattle and keep the Seattle Seahawks in check.
That's what I like about your fandom, Pat, is that you can have the irrational Monday or slightly irrational Monday that all of us have. But all of us have it to some degree, whether it's Sunday night watching the game or Monday morning. But Tuesday morning to wake up and go, it's not. It's what Bob's saying. It's not the sky is falling, everything is terrible, this team's awful. They lost to 2 of the best teams. It will maybe show us, though, Bob, that maybe they're not one of the best teams. Maybe they're not in the league
Very
of
well
these
could.
best teams.
Very well could show us that when they're bad as in good enough to overcome themselves. You know, we know San Francisco lost 3 in a row. We know that Dallas hit a little bit of a slump there. That happens during an NFL season. How bad is your bad, and how good is your good? Well, the Eagles' bad this year for them has been bad so far, but against 2 great teams. But it's how good has their good been? Has their good been good enough? And that's what we questioned when it got to 10-1. Is their good enough to take them to a Super Bowl? I look at San Francisco crushing Dallas, crushing Philadelphia. Their good seems to be good enough. I watched Dallas the other night play the Eagles. Well, their good seems to be better than anything I've seen good from the Eagles this year. Follow what I'm saying? Like, when you look at the teams that are good enough to get to the Super Bowl, in NFC, it's just the 3 teams that we talked about. When the Eagles have played their best game, is it better than when the 49ers have played their best game? Is it better than when Dallas has played their best game?
No, not this year. Last year it was.
So that's the way I kind of look at it. Is your best the best out of everybody? Now, you're not going to need your best all the time, but it's going to be something that you can go to. If the Eagles play the 49ers again, is one of those teams going to play their best game of the year in order to beat the other team? I don't know, maybe, but probably not. But do you have the best of what's good enough to beat that team? I haven't seen it in the Eagles yet this year.
Yeah, I haven't. And that's one of the things is that even in, like, best win, are we going to say
Buffalo?
Are we going to the Buffalo win or the Miami win? I think the Miami win was the most complete win over a good team.
Yeah,
but say Dallas?
It's 2 different kinds of wins. You know, I mean,
Explain.
Miami, you've got a pretty damn good team, even though they lost last night. You got a pretty damn good team, and you beat them, I think, pretty soundly.
Yes.
Complete, yeah. Buffalo, even though they're not as good, they did just have a nice win in Kansas.
Gutsy as hell.
Yeah, I mean they'll fight you tooth and nail, and it showed me another element of this football team that they can, in crunch time, get it done. So that's why, like, I'm more impressed by that. When the chips are down, how do you respond? And they responded pretty well, but then again they followed it up with 2 horrible performances against San Francisco and Dallas. So, but it just showed me something about this team, and it's hey, in crunch time, minute 45, 1-score game. I have faith now that Jalen Hurts can go down the field because I've seen it.
Yeah, well, last year in the Super Bowl, I said I wouldn't doubt that he has that ability ever again, because that was, to me, was a supreme performance, especially when they fell behind. And we've seen it a few times this year when they've needed Jalen to buckle up and get it done. I just think this defense is going to be what holds them back. And to me, the defense is again, I can't get over that the Eagles are a bottom 5 scoring defense. Like, I can't believe that.
Putrid.
This is in this city. That's never acceptable.
So, yeah, how was this team built for this year? Right, they're built for your offense to outscore teams.
Yes, absolutely.
You didn't put a lot of credence into buying linebackers or drafting linebackers or buying safeties or drafting safeties or having backups to older cornerbacks. You kind of just said, we're going to piece it together. Hopefully, it's good enough, and the offense is going to outscore teams. And now your defense is playing worse than you thought they were going to be, like you said, with the bottom 5. And
Can't
now,
believe it,
when
still.
your offense can't click to overcome it, do you have to win games like you did against the Buffalo Bills? Is that the makeup of this team?
I think it is when you're playing a team like the Buffalo Bills. I better not see that against the Giants and Arizona. I better not see a 27-27 tie with the Giants and Tommy DeVito. If I do, then I will be willing to write off the season and say they're not who we thought they were.
I'm trying to find the 3rd down conversion stat, and if I do,
Against them, it's terrible.
Because you say, like, they're bottom 5 in scoring defense, and I go, my immediate thought was, oh, that makes sense. They can't get off the field on 3rd down. Like, they have been terrible at getting off the field in 3rd. It could be 3rd and the building right now, and I'd go, oh, well, whoever's converting. And that's a horrible feeling to have. And that's on the coaching staff to figure out, like, what the hell is the issue on 3rd down that we can get them to 3rd and long, and then it becomes a problem. Like, we had Stats Guerrero on before the 49ers game, and he goes, the key to beating the 49ers is get them in 3rd and long. They don't do well 3rd and long.
Right.
Well,
You couldn't get them in 3rd and long.
They fixed that against the Birds. They looked great. Anytime they were 3rd and long. Anytime it was like, oh, don't worry about it. We got this. And then you followed up against Dallas, and it's the same story where it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and they're converting, habitually.
Go on, Bob.
As much as we're concerned about this Eagles defense, and the stat that you just pulled out, Pat, is phenomenal. Like, as much as we're concerned about their ability or lack thereof, I'm really concerned about the health. You're throwing the same guys out there doing the same thing every time. Like last night in the Miami game, Miami gets a sack by doing something really cool. It was a really nice stunt where a guy faked a rush, waited, had an inside guy take two guys with him, then came around the other end, came up to a wide open lane, sacked the quarterback. How many times did we see that last year?
All the time.
All the time. We saw stunts. We saw,
Did we see that, though, Bob, when they were leading? That last year they were up by 10, up by 14.
They could have done whatever they wanted,
Right, they did, yeah.
Because, you're pinning your ears back, and that's part of what, the numbers were last year because they had such leads, knowing teams had to throw the ball. You can just go after the quarterback. But the grind of going one-on-one with this just four-man rush so many times, you get really concerned. I just looked up the numbers real quick. Over the last 4 games since the bye, plays for the other team, 297. Plays for the Eagles, 240.
Okay, that's terrible.
I mean, the defense is on the field just way
The
way
offense
too
doesn't
much.
have ball control, and it's crazy with that. I want something positive to start the day. So let's have something positive, Bob, is that Joel Embiid and the Sixers, and you heard it last night right here on 97.5 The Fanatic, laid a beat down on a really bad team. But to me, that is what you do with really bad teams. You exert your dominance, and you do it in a huge way. One of the biggest wins in Sixers franchise history yesterday.
Point-wise.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I don't want
Yeah,
people
not
to
the-
come
not
at
the
us
game.
like,
Yes,
that wasn't
exactly.
a big one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. They're fun to watch. They are. And, it's like anything. I was talking to a coach. Oh, Billy Lang, I guess it was.
Okay.
From St.
Congratulations to Big Five champion.
Yeah.
Billy Lang.
He's turned that program around.
He
Yeah, they're
certainly
doing
has.
an
doing
incredible
well.
job.
But we were texting or whatever, and he's like, "Yo, Kuhn, you could say you love my offense, but it looks so much better when shots are going in." He said,
That's
"If we're
the
not
truth.
making shots, it doesn't matter how good we move and pass the ball. Sixers are moving and passing the ball, and God, when they make shots, it looks terrific. They jump out last night like 12-0. Washington had no right being in that game, but John, to your point." It just seems to be a more fun group. You addressed after 2 seasons ago, we need to get tougher, so they go and get P.J. Tucker. Okay, yeah, he'll get in a fight for you. He'll fight for a loose ball for you. But what else did he bring? Now they try to do the same thing this year with Patrick Beverley, and they brought him in, and he's fun. Like he's a good teammate. He can
Love Pat
score.
Bev.
He can defend. He cracks open a Miller Lite on the podium while he's talking to the media.
He's
after the game.
enjoying before and after the game.
But it's one of my topics that we'll talk about. Maybe we'll get it to later, but you know what? I'm
Sure.
going to get into it now.
Do
Joel
it.
Embiid seems to be playing the most dominant basketball I've ever seen him play. And I mean it in a way of forget looking at numbers. Watch every time they come down the floor. He is their best playmaker by far. And I don't mean it just by, we all know he can score. No, he wants the ball. He wants to pass the ball. He wants to set up the offense. He wants to make the picks that'll set up a guy either to get open himself or the second pass will be open from there. Watch him offensively. If you can just watch him and how involved he is in this offense, it is the likes of they're running everything through him. It sounds like an obvious statement, but when you really watch it, it's more so this year than it's ever been.
And
ever.
I love the rotations, Pat, because I got tired of Doc, and I was a fan of Doc, but I believed that he still could have won. But the rotations, you knew exactly what was going to happen. When was Embiid going to sit? Here was it. With Nick Nurse, you never know. And by the way, Nick Nurse has found ways to sit Joel Embiid for entire fourth quarters.
Yeah,
For,
I mean, last night to get him rest in that situation, it to me it goes like, okay, well, you were able to get him, a whole quarter of rest. Maybe you don't look to sit him in a future game. Maybe you can add these. It's kind of like when I did the Eagles exercise last season of, look, they took the last 6 minutes off of this game. They took the last 4 minutes off of that game. You add it up, and
it worked.
They saved themselves a game. Yeah, I mean, the most impressive thing to me was they're dominating last night. They're blowing out the Wizards. And you've got Robert Covington getting 14 minutes, KJ Martin 6, Marcus Morris 12, Daniel House 9, Paul Reed 13, Mo Bamba 8, Pat Bev 11, Kelly Oubre 18, Furkan Korkmaz, Jared Springer 9 each. Like, this wasn't like a 1 minute to the entire team got run. And I'm sorry, but against Doc,
he did.
You would have had Furkan and Jaden Springer getting 1 minute each.
The thing that he's doing with Embiid, I think, is really playing him. So what Brett Brown did, what Doc Rivers did was they would play Embiid the first 7-8 minutes of the first quarter, then sit him. him and sit him for a couple more minutes to start the second quarter and then bring him back in, and it was that way third and fourth quarter also, depending on how the game was. Nick Nurse plays him for the whole first quarter.
Yes.
So he plays that whole first quarter, and I think Embiid really enjoys that. I think it gets him into a rhythm. I think he's more focused of, okay, I'm not going anywhere until this quarter's over. He comes out for the second quarter, and he'll sit him until about the 7-minute mark, maybe the 6-minute mark, and he gets his run there. And then third quarter, it's the same thing. You're playing the whole third quarter, dude. And I like it because if they have that huge lead and he starts the fourth on the bench, which he'll do no matter what, you can just keep him there.
Next time we have Nick on, Coach Nurse, I want to ask about it because it almost is like the last year where we saw the Eagles be so dominant when they got out to leads that maybe that the whole mentality is put the foot in the throat early. Don't wait till the fourth quarter to do it.
That should be. I mean, and when we did have Nick Nurse on, and he said something interesting that he's pretty sure he understands his rotation now, but there's a couple guys like KJ Martin that he hasn't had a chance to put in. Game like that, yeah, you want to go out there and dominate a bad team, all right, that might be able to lose to some G League opponents, and get some run for some of these younger guys that normally won't get it because you're playing a good opponent. I mean, that's the whole and I said this early on in the season, you're going to have 3 games on the schedule every month where you go okay, this is a litmus test game.
Right.
And everything else is you're good enough to win. But if you can dominate that game, if you can dominate lesser opponents and get Embiid and Maxey out and get them some rest and get some of the depth guys going and I'd be able to identify whether they're keepers or not for the stretch run, that to me is a bigger win than the actual win itself.
When players or coaches give us or say something that I really like, I'll always jot it down. Nick Nurse made my notebook this year a couple of weeks ago when talking to him, and he said, we were talking about rotations, and he goes, yeah, I'm weird. I like to have my best players on the floor a lot. We're asking about playing time with Joel Embiid and all that. I like putting my best players on the floor a lot. I mean, tongue in cheek and all, but it's true. What rules his day? Having my best players on the floor to win the game, not getting rest for them when it's supposed to be, out there.
Which notebook is that? Because you go through 4 a year?
No, yeah.
What do you go, 3 a year?
I would say 3 or 4 is probably a good number.
So
yeah.
is there is there going to be a Cooney library? One day, when you do retire, they'll have sort of like they have for ex-presidents.
No.
We can go back and read the stories.
There's not great stuff to
Pat, we have to grab these.
My dad has that. My dad has kept a journal for 40 years, and he's got them in a bookcase.
He's waiting until the 2020 when you're featured.
He wants to
be able to go back and say, I saw this with Pat.
He said he wants to be buried with him. He doesn't want his life story getting out.
I saw it coming. I saw it coming.
You'll never know.
You'll never ever know.
It's probably for the best, honestly.
Pat says something about if the Eagles failed to advance in the postseason to the Super Bowl, these are the people we'll blame. At least he will. We'll get to it next. John Kincade Show. We'll have a live audience coming up today. It is the usual First Friday studio, but it is Tuesday the 12th. Angelo Cataldi will be here. He did sports radio for a while in this town. He'll join us at 8 o'clock. We look forward to him as he promotes his book Loud with us here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Guys, if you are ready to get that special Christmas gift, one that benefits her, but most certainly benefits you, I would suggest checking out Pajamagram before they sell out. I just had to check something because Mark Petro tipped me off to it. The Eagles are not underdogs. They're favorites, and I bet the favorite. Damn it!
What's wrong with that?
I don't like betting. I don't like betting favorites.
Yeah, but if you think, I mean,
I don't like betting
They're gonna
favorites,
win.
though. Yeah, I would have bet money line then or something. I would have found some way to make it a little more appealing. But I don't know. But the Eagles
I
are.
mean, you could have bet Tyreek Hill last night over 100 yards. You could have done that.
And that could
Like
have
some
been
idiots.
That would might have turned out well for me.
Who might be sitting on this show right now.
Hey, John Kincade Show on
naming
97.5, The Fanatic.
Me.
And if Pat wants to, and look, all of us want to see the Eagles advance to the Super Bowl. Every one of us wants to see this be a, what did you call it? Not a lull. There was a word that Bob you used.
Rough spot?
Like a rough spot. This is bounce. But if that's true, if they don't advance to the Super Bowl, Pat Egan says, look at these guys. So who's going to be, who are you blaming, Pat?
Here's Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hey guys, how are you? It's
Hi, Pat.
I'm Pat. Have a seat. This is my point of view. Yeah, if they don't reach Super Bowl, it's on the coordinators and coaching staff. It's on the coaching staff in the sense of Nick Sirianni for not bringing these guys in and going, yo, this isn't working. You need to change it. And it's on the coaching staff for not changing it. Because both sides of the ball have talent. You can't convince me of that they don't. I mean, you have a defense that had 70 sacks last year, and for the most part, the guys that accumulated most of those sacks are back. You swap out Javon Hargrave, and you replace him with the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And he's going to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Offensively, you have an offense that is absolutely loaded to the gills. I mean, they are stacked with talent. And now you've got guys going, yeah, our routes are completely predictable and boring. And it goes to what, Bob, you've been saying this entire time. It's, hey, go up to the tree, make a left, and then go to the Corolla, make a right, I'll hit you. It's boring. There's no creativity. So if they fail with this roster to get to the Super Bowl, I'm looking at the coordinators. And it goes to what you've talked about, John. The worry going into the season. You have two inexperienced coordinators. And
For a team with the highest of expectations.
yeah, and look, it worked last time, and I think that's probably why they did it. It's a little bit of a
It didn't work year
of
one,
a
though.
fault. It didn't, but they also didn't have a ton of talent year one. So I don't necessarily blame Sirianni for doing it. You got to keep in mind too, Sirianni wanted Vic Fangio as your defensive coordinator. The whole mess with Jonathan Gannon. Okay, he's going to stay. Wait, he's not staying. That changed some things. But you replace him with a guy who had a cup of coffee in Chicago as the DC, Brian Johnson. Okay, I was a fan of the Brian Johnson hire. I mean, hand up. Because I didn't think that a guy that sat in the building and watched the offense last year would be able to just absolutely neuter this offense, but he did. So if look, we had high expectations for this team. We should have had high expectations for this team. And if they don't reach the Super Bowl, then I'm looking at Sean Desai and Brian Johnson as the two GOATs.
Yeah, when you look at this defense, and obviously we give a lot of, we cast a lot of blame or doubt, I should say, on the cornerbacks. Have they lost a step? Is it the scheme? I'll tell you, last night I'm watching both games a little bit. And I'm looking at and I'm saying, okay, these guys aren't all pro world cornerbacks.
Okay.
And yet they're scheming it up okay to make other teams at least, not score 9 straight times on them. I mean, think about it. Yeah,
It's
you
true.
can say Bradbury lost a step, Slay lost a step.
I think they have.
They were first-team All-Pros last year.
Yeah.
And, okay, I should be able to live with a guy who was a first-team All-Pro one year and then lost a half a step the next year. I should be able to live with it, not to the tune of allowing teams to score 10 possessions in a row. Think about that, 10 possessions in a row. We look at this Eagles defense now and we say they can't stop anybody.
Yep.
You can't go from one extreme to the other, even if they've lost a half a step.
Well, I think a big problem, and it's a big problem, I think, regards to the entire NFL is, and we talk about the ego thing. It's, okay, my scheme will work. So these players will adapt to my scheme. Why don't you build a scheme around the players you have? Right? Like, why don't you sit there and
Square
go,
peg,
okay,
round hole.
This guy is really good at press coverage, so we're going to build a scheme around the press coverage and not just back them up into the parking lot and have them cover that way. I think Desai came in and he thought, oh, my scheme is going to be great and the players will adapt. Well, they haven't adapted.
Well,
there's not really a pass rush to speak of. Josh Sweat's had been offsides more times than he's actually gotten to the quarterback in the last 3 games. Hassan Reddick is basically it. Dallas ran right down your throat up the middle. I mean, this defense is from the top down is just bad.
Well, then why are you going defense though? As far as it seems like the ire, and all of us, have an ire for the defense. The offense is what's loaded. The offense is what's stacked.
Because
the offense is letting them down and comes out every single game and doesn't put the defense in a position to succeed.
I agree. Like this is a bad pitching contest because they both aren't good.
Yeah, they're
we'll
both bad.
Zip up our flies, but it's bad both sides. I don't think the defense is. I think the defense and Sean Desai will get a pass because people just immediately go like, oh, they don't really have talent, and they do. I think they do have talent. That's the thing. I think that Sean Desai's put them in a position to make it look like they don't have talent. You're right though. The offense is supposed to be loaded, and they haven't put the defense in a good position where the defense now is playing a ton of snaps. Last 3 games they've been on the field the majority of the game.
I think most in the NFL over 3 games. That's pathetic.
Yeah, they've got to be worn out.
They're not doing well, but I think we can't let the players off the hook. I mean, Darius Slay's more worried about right now about being on social media and arguing his statistics with people, which also is a bad sign. I've never seen that be a good thing. We're letting players off the hook too a little bit because the coaches have been so bad. They've given you the ammunition to do it.
Well, if I'm a Darius Slay and I'm in my car and I hear one of us morons saying he's lost a half a step, like that gets to me. That ticks me off. I'd rather him spend his time on social media questioning people about himself than sitting in a bar with a gun in his pocket and shooting himself in the thigh or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I got you. He's not Plaxico.
So it's okay. That's where we are now as far as the way things go. But look, you throw any defense together, a defensive coordinator shouldn't allow his team to be giving up the 5th most points in all of the NFL. And I don't care if guys have taken a step back. We talk about scheme an awful lot, Pat. And how many times when somebody's playing the Eagles, do the announcers on TV, the analysts on TV say something like, oh, look what Buffalo did here. They ran a scheme where they're having somebody spy on Jalen Hurts, their linebacker, and he's filling this gap right here because he is the spy, or different things like that. Or, like I said the other night, John, against Dallas, they must have shown 4 times CeeDee Lamb running a pattern and just showing how good of a pattern he ran.
They don't do that with the Eagles.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen an individual, all right, watch this pattern by A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. They'll show a catch. They won't show how good the pattern was, though, because the patterns aren't great. They're either outs or ups, and that's pretty much it.
It's on, and it would be on, if these coordinators fail, Pat, and putting a bow on this, if these coordinators fail, that's on Nick Sirianni, Jeffrey Lurie, and Howie Roseman. And I don't know which portion of the pie to blame, but I would think it's Sirianni the most. Because they catered to Jalen Hurts with the hire.
Yeah.
Brian Johnson. They catered to him with this hire, somebody that he was familiar with and friends with and known since he was 3 years old. I don't give a damn about that. I wanted a guy, if coming off of what the season they had, I wanted experienced at least at one of the positions. So if you told me you were getting Brian Johnson, I wanted a defensive coordinator that was experienced.
Yeah, I had
the opposite.
I had no problem with Brian Johnson.
He was the one that I was more comfortable with.
Yeah, as Pat said, he was in the building. He was all that. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know who the hell Sean Desai was until his name popped up as a possible guy. I only knew him from
Temple and Pat.
And then I looked him up, and the numbers of the defenses he's been around in the NFL aren't exactly spectacular.
No.
You wonder if the organizational MO is, hey, if we interview a guy and he says I'm taking chances and not keeping the ball in front of me all the time, he's out. I don't know if Desai came in and said, yeah, keep the ball in front. We play back. Keep it in front. Ben, don't break. And they were like,
I think
you're our guy.
I'm guessing, and this is
that?
Yeah,
it's like a dog panning.
This is a complete guess on my part.
It was uncomfortable.
Is that Nick Sirianni says, here's the kind of defense I want to run for my philosophy, and then Howie Roseman and Jeff Lurie get involved heavily in who's going to get that job.
You can't tell me that Nick Sirianni wants to run this defense.
He said that.
But this defense is the polar opposite of what I saw last year. I mean, this defense sucks.
I remember last year everybody
like
wanted to run the defensive coordinator at
Well, no, I mean, I don't even care about that. Like
I know people don't want to look back and go, how stupid were we? How stupid were we?
I mean, look, I was a Jonathan Gannon guy, but
I know you were.
My thing with Jonathan Gannon was the opening press conference, he says, when they asked what kind of defense you were going to run, he said, I don't know what players I have right now. Like, that was music to my ears. You're going to cater your defense around the players you have? Wow, what a concept. And Desai came in, and he's going, no, square peg, round hole. Like, dude, you check your ego at the door. And that's something that Sirianni did year one. He checked his ego at the door. His play calling sucked. He came back from Vegas with us, and he goes, yeah, I can't do this. And he handed it off to Shane Steichen.
And he talked about flowers and it worked.
And pots and pottery and soil. Bulbs.
7 a.m. hour is brought to you by the all-new BetParks app. Get on in it this morning. The BetParks app, sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland. So they get the whole Big Ten covered. Remember, at 8 o'clock today, we'll spin the prize wheel. Brendan's got it in here for us, so we've got the prize wheel going. So somebody who registered at 975thefanatic.com has a chance to win 2 prizes. We just gave away 1 yesterday because we were first. Best show ever yesterday, no one called in. So you're going to get a chance to win 2 prizes today.
It's exciting.
Which is pretty nice, and we hope to have that.
What didn't they call in for yesterday?
They did not call in for the $150 Amazon gift card and passes to see Silent Night.
Well, that little website.
Now, is Silent Night the...
not a ton
is that
on
the
that
horror movie?
website. Yeah, it is.
It's like
yeah. I mean, $150 gift card on Amazon.
That's great. Yes.
Incredible.
So somebody's going to win that plus another prize.
And then the movie pass. I like the movie passes personally. You know.
Don't you go to movies for free?
I do what I do.
Yeah,
let's not get into personal questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's not into too much. I'm going to ask you right now.
For everybody.
That's right.
is this Eagles team the best team we've ever had that you sort of hate watched?
Ooh.
Because I'm gonna tell you.
No, let me just stop.
Okay,
the Dream Team.
What?
The Dream Team had talent.
Yeah, but they weren't. Yeah, but they didn't
them,
have.
And
they weren't as good. They weren't as good. They weren't a 10-3 team.
No,
the
but
Dream Team
but
crapped out. No,
I watched them.
It's got to be the best team. The best
Are
team.
you talking just Eagles or all?
Any sport that
So
you've
when you say
rooted
best
for this
team,
town, the best team. Your record-wise, we're complaining in this town.
I didn't know you were
about
talking record.
Yeah, we're complaining about a 10-3 team, and that look. If someone told you the Eagles back in the spring, if someone said to you, the Eagles are going to be 10-3 through 13 games, you absolutely would have signed in blood and said, I'll take it, especially looking at the gauntlet that has been put out there. But I've got to tell you, it is the most aggravating, annoying, really good team I've ever seen in Philadelphia that I haven't enjoyed watching. I tried to think of Phillies teams. I tried to think of Eagles teams in the past. I tried to think of Sixers teams that were really, really good, like elite NFL teams. This team was number 1 in the NFL for a year, 1 season, and then an additional 13 weeks. And they're annoying as hell to watch.
Well, I think the problem, it's always going to go back to the Eagles because you got the Flyers, the Phillies especially, and then the Sixers. When you're a really good team, you're going to win more times than you don't. So you don't really hate watch because, like, last night for the Sixers, prime example, like they win by like 40 points. So you're going to have more of nights like that when the team is really, really good than down nights. Whereas with football, with only 17 games, you know, those losses jump out in neon.
Think of the good Andy Reid teams then. Was there anyone? Because I never watched a really good Andy Reid team and was like, man, this team annoys the hell out of me. Sunday night, I was, as my wife said, it's the steroids I think are still in my body. She goes, you never curse. And you're cursing left and right.
Every other play.
I do not curse.
You better ask Father to take care of you. Then
Well, Father, no. There's only,
every
no,
play.
GD and JC are the only curse words. As we learned when Father once went off on Dave Schultz.
My wife will tell you differently. Because
So-
every other word was the F word in my household on Sunday night.
You know, we're doing such this recency bias on this. After 11 games, this isn't even a topic of conversation. Oh, my God, is this the worst team we've watched with the most frustration that was really good? You know, they still won 11 games. Yeah, we had our skepticism about the way they were winning and all. So it's unbelievable that we're going to these depths after 2 really bad losses, but understandable that we are. No, this isn't even the worst watch of a season for the Eagles for me.
Okay, what is it?
That came in 1991 when Randall Cunningham got hurt in his first game, and I watched the most incredible defense that maybe the NFL, besides the 85 Bears, has ever seen be first in overall defense, first in pass defense, and first in rush defense for almost the whole season.
It was McMahon.
And you didn't have a quarterback. It was
Pat
McMahon,
Ryan?
It was Pat Ryan. It was.
Who else?
I remember watching a Monday night game because we had this thing at Houlihan's or something, and that we went to every Monday night game and watching. I'm like, I can't believe this team is so good. And you have Pat Ryan at quarterback, and it was just so Kemp.
Oh, Kemp,
Right?
Jeff Kemp.
Had Jeff Kemp there for part of the season.
Any
it was
relation-
Who was it?
Sean
Matt Kemp. I can't remember.
No,
It was
dad,
one of them.
His dad was Jack Kemp.
Jack Kemp, it was Jeff Kemp.
So it was Jeff. So
that the Mount
that
Rushmore
was-
Kemps?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That was not him, Kemp. That was the worst, most frustrating season for me, watching what could have been just play out before you for 16
Do
weeks.
we sound like little whiny bees?
Oh, we sound like that no matter if the team's winning or losing.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I mean, that is very
Absolutely
insightful on
we
your
do.
part.
At least
Pat.
I do.
But 10-3, I mean,
I agree.
I don't want to hear, whenever I hear someone say, well, they're 10-3. They're 10-3. It is nails down the blackboard to me because there's a difference in how you present yourself. There's a difference in how you play. And if the Eagles could finish conceivably 14-3, just like they did last year. And this 14-3 to me will look nothing like last year's. Nothing at all. They will be incredibly different. And I think it will be more of a statement on how bad the NFC is than it will be how good the Eagles were.
You've got two guys, right? Two guys. They each make $100,000 a year. Last year, the Eagles were the guy that works 4 hours a day, right? He hops on the computer, moves a couple stocks around.
So he's Joe
and then
Z.
he calls it, yeah, he's Joe Z.
Okay, right.
And then this
One of
year's
our
Eagles
sales guys.
team, yeah, they're making $100,000 a year, but I mean, they're working 90-hour weeks, grinding it out, having no fun, and no social life. Like that's this Eagles team. Like which one would you rather be? Well, I'd rather be the guy that's working 4 hours a day and just kicking back and watching Netflix. Not the guy who's working 90 hours a week. And while it's great you're making $100,000, like you have no social life. You have nothing to speak of really, other than a bank account.
All right,
Okay,
couple
okay,
of
one.
things on this real quick. Last year's quarterbacks and teams that the Eagles went against don't compare anything to this year's.
That is
schedule.
correct.
And so to be 10-3, that should be it. What if we switch seasons? What if we put this season last year and last year to this year? Would our reaction be totally different?
Absolutely.
We didn't expect last year, right? So last year you have a team comes in, Nick Sirianni in his second year. You just came off a 9-7 season, played one playoff game. You had a defensive coordinator that said, and the quarterback can't read. And you go 10-3 to this point last season against the teams you face now. We would be euphoria. Oh my God, this is incredible. Yeah, these last two games are bad, but they can come back and win games, all that. And then you jump into last year's season this year. Yeah, it's where you expected.
But you can't go backwards from last
No,
year. Like, you know what I mean?
can't. No,
you
as far as
can't,
you can't
yeah.
go back to this level of play from an NFC champion, defending NFC champion,
That-
to me is disgusting.
That's my point. My point is that you can't compare last season to this season. You just can't. And the scheduling was so much easier
hard
last
not to,
year.
though.
It's hard not to because you've set the precedent of what
Right,
you
yeah.
are. But this is how the players have to look at it, and I think that's why Sirianni preached it. Maybe he saw something like this coming, or I shouldn't say saw it, but maybe he knows something like this is coming. Nobody goes through a season perfect. One team did, and that was the Miami Dolphins 100 years ago. Like, nobody goes through a season perfectly. So maybe this is part of the one step at a time. Don't look at the top of the mountain. Just keep climbing. Maybe this is all part of it, and this stretch coming up will make him look like a better coach than maybe we even thought he was.
And they need to think about this because next year you've got at the Ravens, at Cincinnati. You're going at Cincinnati and at the Ravens. Those are two brutal games. You got Cleveland coming in here. They're a really tough team. You're playing the Steelers again, but you get to play them at home. You're going to play the NFC North champion, the Lions. You'll play them here. You'll get that one. But then you've got to go on the road, too. You're going to have to go on the road to the AFC South champion. So you got to go on the road there. So you're going to go to Jacksonville.
All right, so that's a
Potential. Jacksonville?
no, never mind.
Yeah, see, that's
I was
what I'm
thinking.
saying.
I thought you said NFC South.
Oh, no, it's AFC South. But AFC South is the one, and then the NFC West, too. You got to go to the NFC West champs, and next year you're playing at the 49ers. You look at the schedule, it's going to be more like it. Last year's schedule isn't happening again. At Cincinnati, at Baltimore, at San Francisco, at Dallas. Those are four really radically tough games.
You're getting way ahead of yourself, though.
No, but I'm saying it plays
Way
to
ahead
this
of
year.
yourself.
It does. I guarantee it. Bob won't look ahead.
I'd rather have a tough schedule.
now,
than,
as soon as you said next year's schedule,
Bob won't look ahead. He just won't do it.
I had no idea.
got Seattle.
I didn't know
Monday,
who.
that's all.
All I knew you were playing next year was the Dallas Cowboys twice. I knew you were playing
Washington.
Commanders twice,
Maybe the
and then maybe the
Giants,
Giants
and,
twice.
and when I hear about
One home, one on the road.
And when I hear about the quarterbacks that the Eagles face this year, all I can think of is every other team tends to make Sam Howell look very, very pedestrian. The Eagles make him look like a Pro Bowler. And that is where this has been unacceptable.
Is he
And it's
still
like
leading the league in passing?
he's unbelievable. And that to me is Eric Bieniemy too gets a little credit for that. But
tell
they're not
you.
winning.
Yeah.
But they're not winning.
Yeah, but
look at his
that
subtraction
comes next.
from the subtraction from Kansas City.
Yeah.
Which is it too? Is it Patrick still whining, by the way?
Well, he just
we have the
and I
wine
don't blame
cam on him.
He doesn't want the refs making a call like that in a big game.
Isn't that great?
He doesn't remember he's never had it happen before.
We don't want to. I didn't want that holding call with 150 to go in the Super Bowl to decide the game either. You know, Patrick. I mean,
in fairness, I probably would have had the same reaction at Mahomes had I been close to the ref in that moment.
Yeah, the video.
I was not happy with it. It was a penalty, just like Kadarius Toney, but I wasn't happy with it. I would have had a few choice words for the ref.
Hey, carve out your holiday gift list with the Fanatics deal of the week. This week, you get a lift ticket to Montage Mountain for just $40. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com. Keyword deal. These things have been selling out fast. It seems like everybody wants to go skiing. So get to Montage Mountain for just $40. The exclusive deal available for you again at 975thefanatic.com. Michael, if you can hold on. If you want to jump in on this, 610-632-0975. The most aggravating 10-3 team, the best team you've ever seen record-wise, that was so aggravating to you. I thought somebody was going to go Sixers direction. We'll get to that coming up. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I know this, winter's here, and that means your home's getting a little drafty. So right now you're thinking, yeah, I've got to replace those windows, but nobody's replacing windows in the winter, right? No, Window Nation does. So they're going to give you a great deal for it. They're going to give you John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. We've got people in the studio here. You can hear from them. Here, can you clap or something that people know you're alive? I did get one.
Barely alive.
I did get one text
Early.
from cousin Ryan that he asked my brother to take his big head out from in front of the YouTube broadcast. So Haley, you've addressed this? You've addressed this. You've either moved Doc or
you shrunk
gotten
his
that
head?
out of there. I don't think he shrunk his head. Barry Bonds had a smaller head than my brother. In his prime. He's got a big melon.
Yeah, no,
It's a
you're
big
right.
melon.
I can't even defend it. It's huge.
That's the kind of guy that, like, unfortunately, when you were younger and you get into those fights and stuff,
Yeah.
I would look at your brother and be like, yeah, no, I
Not
ain't hitting that. Like, that'll break your hand.
Break my hand on my
Yeah,
on the skull.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're
Must have been tough fun in a helmet.
gonna have Loud by Angelo Cataldi. Angelo joins us at 8:00 today in studio. This was a one-time special exemption for his radio career to come in here and do this, and I appreciate it very much. He'll join us at 8:00. We appreciate that. Michael from Philly's been holding on. Michael, I appreciate you so much. As we talk about the difference between last year and this year with the Eagles, and more importantly, how we're looking at it, welcome into the show. Thank you for holding.
Thank you guys for having me on. Good morning to you all.
Thanks, Mike.
Just want to go through a few things to kind of get our spirits back in order. What I first wanted to say is, the Eagles are doing something that I don't ever recall ever happening before. Being able to see us go almost 30 weeks with the best record in the entire NFL is something that's probably unprecedented. I think we definitely need to understand what that takes and what that takes out of the team physically. On top of the fact that I think the biggest difference between last year and this year is that it's our offensive coordinator. Now, last year, one of the things that I was getting familiar with, and I've seen a lot of last year that we're not seeing much of this year, is the RPO. I look at Shane Steichen as the best play caller in the league, and I think he looked at Jalen Hurts and looked and said, I don't think Jalen is actually the kind of quarterback you drop back 30, 35 times a game and let him play his game that way. I think his ability to use his legs and also use the RPO and keeps the defense on their heels, kind of keep them going both ways and not knowing exactly which way to go.
Yeah, the problem with that, Mike, though, and I appreciate you checking in, is that I think that they also said last year in Chicago that December, whatever it was, sort of right around this time last year, Jalen Hurts goes down after a bad hit where a guy throws his entire weight on him, and he ends up with an injury that ends up being a problem for them that potentially could have derailed a Super Bowl type season. And I wonder if the new offensive coordinator was told, you're going to be doing these jobs with some handcuffs on because we don't want Jalen Hurts taking as many hits as he took last year.
Then why is he doing design runs?
Yeah, well, the design runs just came back, though. The design runs
no,
were
they
not.
did. They did, but like
Yeah, but it was Dallas game. I think he was saving it. I think they were like saving the exciting
they saved it
design
and then he
runs.
fumbled and then they put it in their back pocket and wait till next.
Well, you can't forget about the bone bruise on the knee. I mean that.
Oh, my gosh.
That might have had to scale you back a little bit. Look, if you have a, if you're on my basketball team and you can't jump, I'm not putting you in to be the leading rebounder. Like if he's a quarterback that has a bum knee, I'm not having you run out there to get it hit all the time.
Well, then put it on the injury report. I'm tired of hearing about this bum knee being the reason that they're not like that Jalen isn't
So
having
that'll
a year
make
yet.
you better if they put it in print.
No, but I mean,
if
it's
you say
I'm tired
he's
of
got
hearing.
a bone bruise on his knee. Well, the obvious thing is I don't want to put him in a position to get hit more often.
Well, I mean, it's the
I don't
idea,
need that written down.
but it's the idea though that was from the beginning of the year that was the philosophy. That it was clear they weren't doing the RPO as much. They weren't doing the design runs as much. And I wonder if it was something that was mandated from above. That maybe like in the play calling, when you're designing your play call and you're designing your game plan, we don't want Jalen taking those hits that he took last year.
It would go exactly against what Nick Sirianni said in the first press conference of the year when he was asked about Jalen Hurts and his contract and dialing it back. And he said, why would I do that? Why would I dial back a guy who's making all this money, and the reason he's making the money is because of the way he plays
But
football?
they did before the bone bruise. They dialed him back
that
before the bone bruise.
What game did it happen? Second game of the year?
I think it was longer than that.
I don't know. I don't
I don't remember. They check, see if we can find that. Mike from Lehigh Valley joins us. Mike, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning. I just wanted to call in to talk about the offense and Sirianni a little.
Okay.
I think Brian Johnson is being given a little too much hate. During the Cowboys game, they showed a statistic about us being last in motion this year.
Yes.
We were 27th last year.
Yeah, but you were running RPOs last year. So you weren't going to have a bunch of pre-snap motion necessarily if you're running RPOs.
But now look at the Colts. They're top 3 with Steichen. So
Yes.
more Sirianni than Brian Johnson.
Wait a minute.
Zero in motion, and that will affect this offense greatly.
But wait a minute, though. Steichen's doing this, by the way, with Gardner Minshew. He has the Colts in playoff contention. Thank you, Michael.
I thought Mike brought up a really good point. And it probably is Sirianni. I mean, Sirianni's the guy that's been asked about it and says we don't motion for the sake of motioning. So
But last
it
year-
might be a philosophy.
Yeah,
I
could
mean,
very well be.
You know, like I don't know how much of Sirianni's fingerprints are on this offense. Like how much did he dial it back in terms of handing the play calling over when Brian Johnson comes in? Did he take the play calling back? Yeah, we will never know. We'll never know how much of an imprint he actually has on this offense. But what we do know is he got hired as an offensive coordinator. You know, he came from Indy as the OC. He probably has a philosophy he wants to stick with. It might be in a philosophy of we don't really motion a lot.
Yeah, I brought this up before about where he played in college, Mount Union, and he talks about it all the time. One of the most successful programs in all of college football. Never mind that it's Division III. I wonder if their philosophy was, and he talks about his coach a lot, we beat you with what we do. We don't have to be tricky. We just beat you with what we do. I wonder if that's something that he took from his college coach, and therefore the trickery, which we haven't seen any of hardly this year, if that's not something that's really in his wheelhouse. I don't know.
He might be ingrained in him, but at some point you got to say, what I'm doing isn't working. It's
Yeah, at
not
some point.
working. So my philosophy may be this, but it's not working as well, so let's try this. I've seen no adjustments from this coaching staff.
I'll tell you a reason he might be stubborn. 24-6 over the last 2 years.
Yeah, he smelled himself then.
Yeah, you know, well, I mean, if you're really successful at something, are you looking to
Yeah.
change it when you hit a couple bumps in the road?
I probably would be pretty cocky too if I had that record.
Yeah, so there's just so many different things. You're never as good as you think, and you're never as bad as you think. Right now, you're hopefully you're thinking you're not as bad as you think, and hopefully
would
they're
agree,
not
right.
as bad as they looked the last 2 games, which has been absolutely horrible. But changes have to happen. They just do schematically from within. If I'm a player sitting there, I don't care about scheme. I'm just looking at myself. We heard the frustration from Josh Sweat, just saying we're grinding. I'm sick of getting close but not getting there.
Well, we're sick of it too, Josh. Just so you know, we're very sick of it too. So if you could find a way to be able to get after quarterbacks and everything, and two, there is what this team was built on. We can complain all we want about how we're being exploited over the middle. That was a design choice that Howie Roseman made as far as building this roster. He said we don't care about linebackers, which seems dumb, and we don't. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson was gone, who I believe was a huge part. I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson was a huge part of making Slay and Bradbury so successful last year, and he was a ball hawk.
It might be chicken and egg.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, as Bob brought up, I mean, you've got Darius Slay and James Bradbury were all pros last year. They're holding guys up, and the defense is playing great. They're getting to the quarterback. It's forcing the quarterback to try to get the ball out quicker and make stupid decisions with the ball. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a few of those picks were just right place, right time. I mean, he's just there and just catching pop flies. So, and I wanted C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. He signed a 1-year deal with the Lions. I'd bring him back again.
What was it, $8 million?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was, eventually, you got to make sacrifices somewhere, and Howie decided to make a sacrifice in the middle of the field, which he routinely does.
He also went Golden Girls on us. He also went old, double down on old.
He
Bring back
See,
old.
you look at it like he doubled down on old. I look at it like he doubled down on good, because the alternative was what? I mean, you go out and you can sign a free agent cornerback, but okay.
Or you can play young corners like the Chiefs have developed young corners.
But the Chiefs drafted those guys in the first and second round. The Eagles haven't.
Right.
So your windows.
Well, that's an organizational philosophy.
But your windows open, so you want a veteran in there. You have 2 veteran All-Pros that do want to come back that probably took a little bit of a pay cut to do it. And your alternative was you draft a cornerback 9th overall and you draft a cornerback 30th overall. Or you plan for it, or
organizationally, you plan for this more in advance. Now, they've got corners in-house. I just don't think they've developed.
Yeah, but all those cornerbacks are undrafted free agents, primarily. I mean, Keely Ringo is a 4th-round pick, but he's a rookie. And you're right. They haven't really planned for this They haven't drafted secondary players too much in the draft. They've tried to develop guys like Eli Ricks and Josh Jobe, and all those guys were undrafted free agents that are hope to make an impact, but they're just not ready now.
And again, it's a Howie Roseman philosophy about what he values, and what they're finding is it's some years it works, some years it doesn't, and this year it's not working. When you're the 5th worst scoring defense in the NFL, that is atrocious. That is a horrible decisions that were made, and it's going to, maybe it changes, or maybe they just double down on that philosophy moving forward. That they just hope that it comes together.
I don't know how you do. I mean,
I don't either.
I just don't. And if you're going to have excuses as to why other teams can beat you up so much in the middle of the field, I don't know what it is. You have 11 players out there. If you're Sean Desai, you have to 11 professional players. You have to be able to scheme something to take away the middle as much as teams are getting it on you. Whether it's with guys that aren't as good as your all pros or what, somebody's got to be there. You don't even see bodies there.
No.
How many times did you see Ferguson go down the middle? There weren't even bodies there. So I don't know, scheme, talent. I think it both comes together.
It brings me back to that before. I've never seen a good Eagle, a great, because they have one of the great records in the NFL. I've never seen a great sports team in Philly that has annoyed me worse. And last year was one of the most joyous things I've ever experienced as a sports fan. I turned off that TV after they lost that Super Bowl and was okay with it. I really was. I was like, it sucks. This really sucks. But I wasn't throwing stuff. I wasn't pissed. I wasn't like kicking the wall because they said they're going to be back and the window's open. And Pat and I talked about it like they got 4 or 5 bites at this apple. I'm not sure that the apple's not going to have many bite marks in it right now with what I'm seeing.
I think we have to be careful with the word great. We thought the 10-1 record was great. I don't think the way we talked on the air and talked about everything,
Sure.
I don't think we were saying the team was great.
And I think I was the most negative of all of us as far as that record. And it's not what it is. But when your record is, when you're the number 1 team in the NFL for 31 weeks in a row, that's great. That's great. Whether it might be, but it may be that it was the flaws were being oversight by just things. What I won't buy is lucky though. They're not lucky. Like that one guy who's not even a fan of the Eagles who calls in and is like, they're just lucky and Jalen Hurts sucks. And I think, no, I'm not buying that. I don't buy that luck carries you that far.
It doesn't carry, but there has been a good sprinkling of luck cast upon the Eagles when they get some of these wins.
Sure.
Like any NFL wide receiver catches that ball that Valdez-Scantling doesn't catch, that's a loss.
Yeah, but still,
but like
Dak Prescott stepping out of bounds. I know, I hear you. I'm
like
not saying it rules today.
Valdez-Scantling sucks. Like that's the problem. It's like
and the ball was still half it from his
That's
hand.
the thing. Like if Tyreek Hill ends up dropping that ball, luck all day, right? Like sure hand away. Valdez-Scantling is horrible, and we're sitting here acting like this is Chris Carter. I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you. But like a lot of people,
wide receiver catches that ball.
A lot of people like he's in the NFL because he has speed. He's not in the NFL for his hands because he doesn't have any.
Yeah,
he's got bricks.
Too.
He was wide open.
Like how is that happening? How is Sean Desai allowing a guy when you late in the game and you have a lead, you're letting their fast guy get behind? Was it Byard at the time?
Because that's what's happening.
Like a guy that you
I don't
just
think
picked
so.
off.
Because Byard would have been on.
No, it wasn't Byard.
Byard would have been on Kelsey.
But there was no. Yeah,
I don't know.
Who was in? It was whoever was in for whoever was in.
It wasn't Roby.
Yeah, I'm not sure if
I
it
don't
was
know who
Roby.
it
or
was.
Which, by the way, did anyone notice late in the game? And it was the Cowboys game. It was a key 3rd down, and they've got Eli Ricks on CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
In the slot.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, that's where.
Like that's your. No wonder you can't get off the field in 3rd down. You're throwing a rookie undrafted cornerback on CeeDee Lamb.
That's
in the
where
slot.
Dak. That's where Dak needs the lobster bib from Red Lobster. They should just put that around his jersey because he sees that and goes, "Oh, I wonder where I'm going to throw the football."
Cheddar Bay biscuits.
And I'm gonna. Yeah, they are good, by the way.
Delicious.
They are really, really good. It's just look, and it does seem, and for those of you that are like, look, you're complaining about a 10-3 team. I don't want to hear about the record after the 2 last losses because those are the teams you got to get through. If you think you're a Super Bowl contender, those are the teams you have to get through. You got to get through Dallas, San Francisco, unless you're the 2 seed. And that's one of the things I brought up yesterday. If you're the 2 seed, you maybe don't. Because of the fact that you could potentially play, like right now, if you sat there, if the Eagles somehow San Francisco stays in the 1 seed, right now the Eagles would open up the playoffs. If they win out, they would take on the Green Bay Packers at home, a 6-7 Green Bay Packer team. And if the Lions won their game against the Vikings, they'd take on the Lions the next week. I got to tell you, and then Dallas and the 49ers would play each other if Dallas wins. I got to tell you right now, that looks like an easier path to me, even with an extra game. It looks like an easier path to the NFC title game than saying Dallas is coming in and you got to beat San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco.
Yeah, but in the end, you still have to either go to Dallas or San Francisco to get to the Super Bowl.
No, you wouldn't if you're the 2 seed.
If you're the
You
2
don't.
seed,
You don't have to go through Dallas. Dallas. If Dallas upsets San Fran, they're coming here. Dallas is coming here.
you have a point.
So there you go.
You have
That
a
would
point.
work. So I'm just
That's
saying.
why you're in the big chair.
It might. Is it a big chair?
I
don't think it's.
It's a beefy chair.
I don't think it's.
That's a big
as,
boy
I don't
chair.
think it's as big.
It goes up. It goes down.
Is there? So
My chair doesn't do that.
it does not.
Because you're in the little.
Well, you're sitting
I'm
in
in
the
the little
you're sitting
chair.
in the red chair.
Well,
Which
for
is
me,
the-
it's big. For you
the
guys,
little
it's
man.
a little chair.
Which is the hot seat, which is where Angelo Cataldi will be sitting at 8 o'clock as he joins
Wait,
us.
I gotta move?
Here. No, Angelo's going to sit in this one.
Oh, okay.
He's going to sit in. We're going to put him. In
I'm
the
so
clean
short,
one.
I can't even see that there's another chair over there.
We're putting him in the clean one.
What are you saying about my chair?
I don't know. Is that
clean, right?
I don't know if it looks as clean.
Okay,
That
fine.
red one. So we put that one over there. So you sit in that one, and we'll take care of this one there. So Flyers go for 5 in a row tonight, by the way. And raise your hand if you thought the Flyers would ever be 5 games over 500 this year.
Oh, I think everybody.
I mean, seriously, I bet you Keith Jones would have struggled to believe that the team would be 5 games over 500. And I said earlier this year, could you be a story in March? Could you somehow be a story in March where you're in the fight for a wild card spot or something like that? It's a long way to go, but it's been impressive. And that you'll hear the Flyers tonight right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yeah, I can't wait till we can get Tortorella back on here. I was really anxious to talk to him last week when we had some phone problems. He said he couldn't get in because I thought that his line and his mind. Look, people look at it and say, "Oh, that's funny that he said it," but he said this team has balls, and it was bigger than just a throwaway. Ha ha, that's a funny line. That's what John Tortorella came in here to get. And for him to come out and say he's got it and this team has it, I think it was like, wow, mission accomplished way earlier than I thought it was going to be. Now, that's just
Right, exactly, right.
It's just one aspect of it. But I can't wait to ask him, all right, how big? My question was going to be, when you're building a team, how big are balls in the anatomy of it?
The night
Because it sounds like a funny,
It is,
ask
go.
question, but
It was
I'm being
amusing.
serious, yeah.
It is one of the Bob.
I do
Remember
both.
when we had John?
Make you think, and I make you laugh.
When we had John on before opening night, John said you asked the best question that he'd been asked all year.
That's what I did.
It was early in the season.
I understand, but still, though, he's got a bunch
He
of
hadn't
media
talked to
members
Haley yet.
hounding him, all the time and trying to get answers. He said you were the best question of the year. I think that sounds like a really good one for John Tortorella, too, as the Flyers. You'll hear it on 97.5 The Fanatic. We will spin the prize wheel coming up at 8 o'clock. So if you've registered at 97.5thefanatic.com, and if you haven't registered, why not? Because all you got to do is you got to listen at 8 and noon and 4, and one of you might hear your name called. And if you're a participant today, you would have a chance to win 2 prizes. The $150 Amazon gift card and Pass It to See Silent Night carries over from the best show ever. So we want to get 2 in the books for us today. That'll be 2 prizes for you. Name will be called coming up today at 8. Angelo Cataldi joins us coming up. Looking forward to it. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, I'd like to do a shout out to a very important part of the household. Dependable, efficient, and does a great job. It is my Bradford White water heater. Bradford White's awesome, absolutely amazing, and you gotta love Bradford White water heaters. They are the best. If you are having a problem, if you're having a problem with your water heater, you don't get dependable hot water. You're not able to have everybody in your house get a comfortable shower every single morning. You're gonna love a Bradford White. Do you need a 25-gallon? 50-gallon, 75-gallon. Now, we had to go with the propane model. So if you have propane, you can go with that. If you have natural gas, you can go with that. They are the best. They absolutely have everything you could ever imagine with the Bradford White water heaters. And it's great because Bradford White is only going to be brought to you by plumbing professionals. It's not going to be brought to you by your big box store where you go in and you buy one yourself. You will love Bradford White. They take great care of you. And only plumbing and heating professionals will install it for you. And then you don't have to worry about it for at least a decade or so. And you're just going to get all that dependability. Check out BradfordWhite.com. Find the plumbing professional near you, because how you heat your water, it matters. Choose our friends at Bradford White.
Taking the
Your chance to win on the prize wheel comes up in just a few minutes. We're back with our live studio audience. And Angelo Cataldi is in the building. We're having him security screened right now, listening devices, anything like that he may have thing. And we've got.
He seemed to enjoy the pat down.
Yeah,
I don't know what that was all about.
I think he has to go through twice, which was really
he
strange.
asked to go through twice.
He did. It was just really strange. With Gail here, right, too, his lovely wife. I mean, it's sort of something you don't want to do. Hey, coffee and breakfast today provided by Homegrown Coffee and Creations, South Philly's favorite coffee and breakfast spot, where your every trip to the stadium should begin. 1515 West Porter Street. We appreciate the Homegrown Coffee and Creations for being a part of the live broadcast today. We usually do these on Fridays. Tuesday's a little different, so we know which guys don't really care about getting to work on time. I think we've narrowed that down. We have a few retired people. We have a member of the clergy. We have got everything in here. I think we asked him just to bless the studio before Angelo came in. So Father Casey taking great care of that this morning. I don't know who's saying mass this morning at his parish, but I guess he can just make the rules.
He delegates.
I think he delegates.
Yeah.
He delegates really well.
Yeah.
He delegates better than Nick Sirianni has this year. I would say so far.
That segue.
I would say so far. Is it because it really is what this discussion, and Pat, it's weird, is that everything digresses into three separate arguments. One of our listeners, Todd, says, every single one of these things digresses into three different arguments. The idea that this Eagles team, right now, the coordinators are just not, they're not cutting it. But how much responsibility is Nick Sirianni's? I got to tell you, as crappy as the offenses looked in the first half, I think Nick Sirianni's fingerprints are on the crime scene again. He took himself out of the job because he said I wasn't good at it. He literally articulated that.
If you run a hedge fund and all of a sudden you're not making money, just because you're not the one finding the stocks doesn't mean it's not your fault. Like, you put people in the position, you hired these people, they're not getting the job done. So, yeah, Sirianni's fingerprints are all over it.
And I do believe that the coordinators, though, as Bob, as we talked about before, I do not believe that Nick Sirianni went in there and goes, I want this guy and I want this guy. Howie, Jeff, that's what I'm doing. You have no say in it. Because we've seen differently. Doug Peterson lost his job fighting over Press Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost a job over Press Taylor.
I hope his fingerprints are all over it.
I do too.
The two words that make his fingerprints all over it are head coach.
Yes.
There shouldn't be much going on underneath of his nose that he doesn't know about. I mean, if he doesn't have his fingerprint on everything, we talk about, like, what does he do during the day, or we don't talk about it.
Not nearly enough. Let's put it that way.
What does he do on game day? Well, I'm okay with that. If you're coaching your ass off from, Monday through Saturday and have everything in line, standing there and overseeing it like we see a Mike Tomlin do, like we see many coaches do, maybe even a Bill Belichick to some extent, I'm okay with that. But you better be a great coach between Monday and Saturday to make sure that you can stand there and just delegate or fix problems during that 3-hour time period of a football game.
I love your fortune cookies, Pat, because is that you brought up that term, and it's perfect for hearing Jalen Hurts talk. I mean, Jalen Hurts goes into, I don't know, does he go to P.F. Chang's?
What was it this week? Like, you get more out of a loss.
Out of a loss, and it's all a learning experience.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, stop. I mean, but that's one of the reasons I don't listen to the post-game pressers after losses like that, because nothing they say is going to make me feel better. Everything they say is going to infuriate me. I mean, they could tell me like Merry Christmas, and I'm going to be like F you, because when you crap the bed like they did, I don't want to hear from anybody. But especially the fortune cookie wisdom that he uses.
He's of the Nick Saban school, and he was programmed very much like anybody who was ever in a cult. When you go through Nick Saban's program, you absolutely are told, here's how you address the media. Here, don't give away anything. Don't say anything. Always take responsibility. But speak in general terms. This is how he teaches people, and Jalen has mastered it. I mean, he says nothing. It takes him 100. It would take him 100 words to say happy birthday to the secretary, and it's like, and it wouldn't make sense. I have no idea what goes on.
Yeah, it's weird now that I'm not in the quote air quote media anymore. I really don't care what he has to say because he doesn't say anything. So who am I listening to? Like the Jason Kelce's of the world and the other guys that are just speaking openly and honestly without a narrative of standards and all those things. And nothing against Jalen Hurts. That's fine.
No.
If that's how he wants to be behind a microphone, that's fine with me. All I care about really is the 60 minutes on the field.
Yep.
What's going on with this team exactly in the locker room behind closed doors? Well, that's when you take your microphone over to the Jason Kelce's and the Brandon Grahams and other people on the team to find out exactly what's happening.
And that's the issue too. Is that look? This is supposed to be a team loaded with veteran leadership. Where is it? Where is it? You got Hall of Famers in that locker room. Where's the leadership? Because they came out and played against Dallas so poorly. But one thing I will do, watching the 15-minute game again yesterday, everybody go to YouTube and watch it. It's awesome.
I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stop you right there.
No,
I'm not going to do that.
But Pat, I promise you this. You will watch this. You will watch the San Francisco game. It's 11 minutes and like 40 seconds. And then watch the Dallas game. It's like 11 minutes, 30 seconds. And you will walk away saying, the Dallas loss was completely different than the San Francisco loss.
Well, I don't need to watch the game again to know that.
You could have been in that game so much.
That's what I'm saying. It was. I said that yesterday. It was self-inflicted wounds. It was you're driving, you fumble.
Right.
You're driving, you fumble again. You're driving, you fumble again. Like it should have been a lot closer. I don't know if they win the game ultimately.
Right, exactly.
But
it should have been closer.
They shot themselves in the foot the entire game.
We will have Angelo Cataldi joining us here in just a moment. So we have to first spin the holiday wheel here at the Fanatic, where somebody is going to get the chance to win 2 prizes today.
Yeah.
Now, Pat, remind me, as the chemo fog is still very much in my brain, as I bet on a 3.5-point favorite today, which I never do. So tell me, what am I?
You're just going to say the name.
Just going to say the name.
And then when they give 10 minutes, if
yeah,
they
but I don't
call
want to
back,
do this in the middle of Angelo's call. No.
This is how the holiday wheel gets done.
Here's what it's going to do. Alan Iavecchia. You are our name today of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Alan Iavecchia, 215-263-0975. 215-263-0975. And you will win not 1 but 2 fabulous prizes if you call in. The $150 Amazon gift card and pass it to see Silent Night is on the board.
I
Haley,
agree with you.
I'm making a variance here. I'm not stopping in the middle of Angelo's interview to take a call. Could you
the
please
wheel.
spin the wheel, Haley? Haley will now spin the wheel, and she's not going to spin it like she's on steroids. She's just going to spin it, and we will see what happens. Haley almost knocked the wheel off.
Yeah, it's.
You're not taking Vanna White's $10 million
Looks
a
like
year
we got
job.
that wheel at a garage sale.
All right, where are we ending on the holiday wheel for this double price?
Show tickets.
We have what?
Comedy show tickets.
Comedy show tickets. Let me give you that one. I gotta find the comedy show ticket read.
I like to laugh.
You like to? Do you, Pat?
Your book's upside down, John.
You haven't been reading much. Yes, I've seen
There we
that
go.
it's upside down. I don't see the.
He's so nervous.
I don't see the comedy show tickets in here.
Well,
of
there's
course.
tickets. It's
Which is great.
comedy.
There's
You'll
tickets
laugh.
to a comedy show,
Plus
which
you
is
have
great.
$50 gift certificate
Yes,
to Amazon. So
and
by
Pat,
the
you
time-
never laugh at that.
What's
So
this
there you
guy's
go.
name? Something Ianecchia
This
or something?
is Alan Iavecchia.
Hey, Alan. By the time
Alan
you call in, we'll let
Iavecchia.
you know what you won. Don't worry.
215-263-0975. He could be a double winner coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin the 8 o'clock hour, I am thrilled to welcome to our stage here a man who has just written it. I don't know if this is a memoir, if this is a historical piece. Angelo Cataldi, who did some sports radio in this town. He had a nice little short career. I remember hearing about him, but it's great to have him joining us here in studio here at the Fanatic. You had to pull some strings too to make this happen, right, Ange?
Look, here's the bottom line on it. John Kincade was a major contributor to our show and to the success of our show for most of the time until he went over to the dark side. By the way,
Atlanta.
This is my first time in the dark side. Nice
There
to
you
see
go. It's pretty light in here, though.
Well, I'm looking around at all these people that clearly had no loyalty to me. Thanks for nothing. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, John, that God, from the time that you were a caller,
Yes.
right?
John from Exton.
John from Exton and you had these very hot takes on what was going on with the Flyers, and
I've been known.
it would drive Al Morgani insane, right?
Yes.
And then I used to say to Al during the breaks, that guy could be a talk show. And Al said, no, he's obnoxious. I can't stand him.
And he
I
would.
said,
Yeah,
He would.
Al was
Don't
right.
say
I
that,
said,
Yes.
Al, what does that make us?
Yes, exactly.
Right?
I would laugh because of the fact is when I decided to leave the business world
Huh.
to do this, you were one of the major people. You, Tony, Al, were people that I talked to about leaving to try to do this for a living, and I thank you for that. But I did ask you at the time, was there a room you would rent me or something if it failed?
Yeah.
And that call never was answered.
Because please, I didn't want to be around you that much.
Wouldn't
Enough
work.
is enough.
It
Come on.
is awesome to have you here, and the book is loud. And I can only tell you, this would be a great stocking stuffer or a gift for any guy on your list who has been in Philly sports radio, because I think people have heard you over the years.
Without a doubt. John, I got to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I have had a moral dilemma with this book.
You've had a
And
moral dilemma. You didn't have one in 30
hope.
years.
You're my last hope.
Yes.
So, if we go to our website, angelocataldi.com, I will personalize it and I will write what you want. Well, needless to say, some people, they hate the Cowboys more this week than ever. They
say
have
F?
Yeah, F Dallas.
Yes. Then just say F Dallas.
Yeah, F Dallas.
Don't say-
No. I put the word out.
Oh, wait a minute.
The check cleared.
No, but it's perfect. We have a priest in our audience who will confirm. Father Casey's here.
Father Casey.
Father Casey will confirm, as I've heard him on the bench of over the years in hockey, F is not a curse.
It's not a curse?
GD and JC. So you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, the
those
FCC
words.
disagrees.
Well, you don't use
Okay.
those. Yeah, Pat, I mean, he's not asking him. He's asking him to write it in a book.
Would you put the full word in the inscription, John Kincade?
I think I would. I think I would. What? I almost died 3 times. I said, why not? Who the hell? What am I worried about? What am I worried about? I'm writing an FU. And I'll be glad to do that. I'm surprised, though, is that I'm guessing that this took you 2 weeks.
No, you can't write a
Really?
whole book. It's 92,000 words.
I know. I read them.
No,
and I read them,
listen.
but I was thinking that you
No.
you tend to be somebody, though, who pours yourself into something completely.
Well, I did. And the last week after the Eagles choked and lost another Super Bowl, I couldn't have that big finish, right? I was like saying, all right, how am I going to do this? I got to do it fast. And when I found a publisher, they said, my only request was, I even got a bad deal. I'm not making any money on this book, but I got it out the same year I retired. And the reason I did that is I was positive that people would not remember me past then. Now I have realized they already
they don't. I mean, seriously.
They already don't.
They already have
remember.
moved on from you.
No, they have. So they agreed to do it. So they gave me 6.5 weeks. And
6.5 weeks.
And I wrote the book at 6.5 weeks.
Now, Cooney is a journalist.
Yeah.
So is 6.5 weeks enough for Angelo to summarize a 30-plus year career?
That's pretty quick.
That's fast, right, Bob?
It's pretty quick. Yeah, I'm doing a book now on a friend of mine. It's going to take. I already told people it's going to take me years.
Yeah,
like that. It's just is like you doing that. Did you take notes during your career of things, Angelo?
I have the notes for each show. Right?
They went to his HR profile and found a lot of the stories. They absolutely, because those were unsealed.
Well,
I think Odyssey unsealed them, so you were able to find some of the best stories.
It came together pretty quickly, and I haven't been happy with probably anything I ever wrote. I hated, first of all, I hated working at the Inquirer because they butchered your copy, right? You know that, Bob. And the bottom line of it is that this came out the way I wanted it to, and they didn't hack it up in the edit. The fact checking was somewhat humbling because I had been saying things for years on the air that were completely untrue.
It builds quite a career.
Oh, no,
it builds quite a career.
And I go, where did you get this? And I went, where did I get it? I've been saying it for 15 years. They said, well, it's not even close to accurate.
Yeah.
So they
as long as you
fixed
say
that.
it with conviction. That's
Well,
what
I
matters.
did it. Somehow no one corrected me.
I ask you about this, is that looking back and reading the stories were fantastic, and it was awesome to hear all the different things about your career. But I ask you this, over the time from when you started to when you ended, and you addressed this in the book a bit, do you think the Philly fan base has really changed? Because I know in the years that I was away to when I came home, this fan base is so much softer than it was.
Yeah. And, that's the lament of an older person. Nothing to get you. You're
Sure.
still young. You're in your 50s. But to me, that's a kid. But, yeah, it is. And, I wasn't positive until I did leave. And the people back at my station decided to organize a standing ovation for a guy making $300 million who was hitting 230. I couldn't believe it.
It's a different world.
And I went, So I said to them, I said, if I was still there, I would have done everything I could to sabotage it because it was stupid. Of course, then it worked. And then he started hitting, and then I went, well,
they needed another one. There was a shelf
couldn't-
life on it.
John-
They could have used it in the NLCS.
all I could think of is John Kincade, if he had called our show 25 years ago and said, you know what? I know this guy hasn't scored a goal in 15 games. Let's give him an ovation. That is not
Never
the way
happened.
we did it. It's not. So you're right, it got softer, a lot softer.
Did you contribute to that?
That is rude.
I'm trying to treat my guests with respect.
No,
but I mean, you did not.
no.
You tried to stem the tide of this new feel good. We got to make people feel happy. Got to make them feel
All right.
cozy here.
Let's remind you, I was behind the booing of Donovan McNabb at the draft. Thank you. Appreciate your support on that.
Well, you wanted Ricky Williams.
Right.
It was supposed to be a
I
positive
didn't want him.
event.
The mayor did. It's all
Yeah.
his fault.
Well, he went on to be governor,
And
too.
all the other things we did. I was there the night they threw the batteries at J.D. Drew. I mean, I was part of all that. No, I fought the tide the last 10 years because it was getting harder because the next generation was, I don't know, softer. They were nicer.
Feelings.
They were nicer. And the whole point of this book is, yeah, I'm saying in this book, I'll tell you 100 stories about the crazy stuff these people did. But I'll also tell you how they stepped up every time you needed them to help somebody out. Or if it was a charity, they were there every step of the way. And then my kicker was, and you know Kenny from Dirty 30.
Yes, I do.
Kenny Justice, he called our show a couple of years ago and acknowledged that he was going for kidney dialysis because his kidneys were failing. And 28 people that day went into the portal for organ donation, and they knew him no more than just a voice on the radio. And that's that part of the story, the narrative about the Philadelphia sports fan, never gets told, John.
This is I'm surprised at how much of a love letter this is to your listeners and to the fans of this town. I was a little surprised by that because it's very touchy-feely for you.
Yeah, it is, but
you're like the Grinch would look at you as a role model. I mean, it's like this is interesting.
You went to Atlanta. Over the years from the time you were in Atlanta to when you came here, I bonded more. Yeah, I did.
You did?
I felt more of an appreciation for what they had given me because I was, Bob, you can relate to this. I had zero experience in radio. They just handed me a day part. And they said, here, go do something. And I worked with Tom Brookshire for a couple of years, and I learned a little bit from
Rookie
him.
and the rookie.
And Tony Bruto taught me a lot more, and those guys did. But I never knew. To this day, I don't understand most of the technology, the terminology used for radio. I never learned it.
I want you to kind of, I'm still learning. I want you to kind of generalize this, Angelo.
Sure.
Yeah. Generalize this. A topic through the years that you rolled your eyes, that you said, God, I got to keep still talking about this, and in general.
Yeah.
And then one that you could just keep talking about forever. What do you have?
The
those
one
two?
that really got tired was Pete Rose. That just went on forever. And I evolved. I was a Pete Rose guy because Pete Rose, when I first came to Philadelphia, without arranging an interview, sat down with me for almost an hour and talked about what it was like to hit a baseball. We were doing a supplement for the 3,000th hit. And I was brand new here. My knees were shaking. And he was so nice to me. So I wanted to give him every benefit of the doubt. And he found a way to, maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, to make me go, no. Yeah,
I'm out.
It's not about gambling. It's about the way he acted. It's when he came back for that big commemoration of one of the great Phillies teams, and he talked down to the female reporter and all that stuff. I said, I can't do it. But that's one I got sick of, and that happened for a long time. And one that never got tired, whoever the latest Eagles coach was. I just heard Kincade taking a shot or two at Sirianni, and I went, I'm home now. That's home. That's
It's
always
familiar.
the best
It's familiar,
thing.
yes.
It's the best thing, John. No one will ever tire of scrutinizing and often ripping the head coach of the Eagles.
What's the one moment you think defines your career?
Well, that's the problem. The one moment is probably the booing. Yeah, it's all negative stuff, right? The booing of McNabb, 1999.
And you had nothing to do with any of that.
No, I had some stuff to do with it.
You were the
but
freaking mastermind behind
how
it.
was I supposed to know at an hour and 15-minute ride from here to New York that all those people would get drunk? Did I know this?
Did you frisk them?
I was surprised. All right.
Yeah, sure you were.
But the other one is wing ball.
Well, that was fantastic.
Well, it was fantastic until the last 5 years.
Well, that's because we've now come to a point where nobody can have any fun. Nobody can have any fun anymore. Everyone's going to be offended by something. Everybody's going to be offended by something. Believe me, if I wish it, if I could, there was.
Well,
Yes.
if there was a way to be offended, there was. You were going to see it that day.
Yeah, it was, but it was an event
Right.
that was truly Philadelphia.
Yeah, and it's sad. I thought it would last. I thought it would be the next Mummers.
Really?
Right?
Yeah, okay.
I really did. We were getting 20,000
Sure.
people right till the end.
Right.
But then, like Ron Jeremy showed up. And,
Yeah.
The lower crust of American society, and it got tougher.
Yes, when Snooki shows up, it's
No, we
time to call it
invited.
a day.
we
No, they
paid
loved Snooki being there.
We pay. She got on the mechanical bull.
Really?
Now that's entertaining.
See, as long
I'm
as
sorry
you're
I missed
it. Angelo Cataldi joining us. His book, Loud. You can find. You can order it at Barnes and Noble. You can order it on Amazon. You can go to angelocataldi.com, right? And you have a website. That's incredible.
My wife did all that.
Okay,
Gail.
so Gail did it all.
Gail did. She is totally involved with the management of this thing, and she's amazing at it. I had no idea. No idea.
That's a fantastic thing because you were not exactly. You had
Hello?
You had an AOL email address as of 6 years ago.
All right. I left that out of the book. Why'd you have to say that?
I mean, I thought he was the last person with an AOL address. I always wondered if it was being sent somewhere else. It's a great book and it's a great read. I got to ask this though. The fact that you were able to come to this town and become part of it and become ingratiated to it without pandering is what I think is maybe your greatest magic trick that you ever performed in your career, because this city is not kind to outsiders. And you managed to ingratiate yourself without pandering.
Yeah, I spoke their language, John, from day one. That's the thing.
Did you learn that in Rhode Island?
I learned it at Columbia University.
Okay.
When I went there and I told my advisor that I wanted to go into sports. And it was like I had told him I was going to kill him. He was so devastated by it. That Columbia University, Graduate School of Journalism, that's managing editors.
Sure.
That's the creme de la creme. Sports, were you even here? And he made me promise him two things. One was I have to cover sports the way I would cover the White House. I have to ask the hardest questions and be nasty if necessary to get to the truth. Find out what the people want and ask it, and don't take no for an answer. And the second thing, he said, under no circumstances reveal to anyone at Columbia I plan to go into sports. And I adhered to those. And I came here, John, and the minute I came here, I went, this is where I should have been born. Because I was critical of everybody. I was very outspoken, the same way you are.
I try to be.
Well, you are, but you're a local. You were born here.
Yes.
Right? So I had to learn
it was natural. It was natural.
Yeah, I had to learn it. But I did learn it, and it resonated. And I felt comfortable from day one, although it took me a few years to figure out how to do radio.
A few years? I mean, you were good at it. You were good at it early, but there were many iterations along the way. I saw you evolve. I mean, I saw you where you became just take charge, where at a time
Took a long time.
Yes.
The first year with Brookie, like at the end of the first year, he said to me, I'm really getting tired of carrying your sorry ass. He said it. Tom Brookshire, 25 years at CBS. Number 40 retired is saying to me that I'm just riding his coattails. And it woke me up. That's when I started to get more assertive. But I didn't know radio. So when Tony Bruto came, I leaned on him a lot.
Oh, Tony, new radio.
Oh,
Absolutely.
totally new radio. And then he left in a dispute with my boss, Tom Bigby.
He's the first man that put me on the air, so I do, God rest his soul.
Tom Bigby put you on the
He
air.
was the first one.
That's
See,
who we can blame?
It was because of you and Tony and everything that I got the opportunity, so I thank
Well,
you
that's
all
the
for
thing.
that.
Isn't that interesting that he heard you and he went, yeah,
But he
that'll
always
work.
complained about me.
Yeah, we always...
He always complained about me.
This is my proudest thing in the book. Proudest. 1995. I can't take my boss anymore, Bigby. Can't take him. And I go to my agent. I said, see if you can get me something else. I got to get out. I can't do it with this guy. He said, let me see if I can do something for you. And he comes back and he shows me a contract proposal. And there's a clause in the contract proposal saying that my boss, my program director, cannot speak to me if I don't want him to. I actually reprinted
Oh, no.
the
Yes,
clause
it's in there. It's in the book.
Because
Yes.
people have thought it was like an urban myth, and it wasn't. And I put it in the book. And 2 years later, for 2 years, I didn't invoke it. I assumed he knew it was there. And then one day, Mike Tyson had chewed off part of the ear of Evander Holyfield. And I started the show. Can you imagine if you were there? Oh, my God.
Oh, I'd get crushed.
Oh, no.
No, I get crushed.
Yeah?
You got to start Eagles. Got to
Oh,
start
yeah,
there.
yeah, all
Can't
right.
start Evander Holyfield.
All right. Well, I mean, the whole world was talking
Right.
about it. So I did the first segment on Tyson at Holyfield, and there was the hotline, and I went to the hotline, and Big V was there, and he went, "Get off this now. We don't talk boxing on my radio station." And I said, "Bleep you," and I hung up. And then after
So
the
you wouldn't
show-
write it, but you'd say it.
Oh, no, John.
I know. Believe me.
Anyway, bottom line is, after the show, I went into his office and he began screaming, and I said, "Stop for a moment. I hereby invoke the clause in my contract. Talk to somebody else. You don't talk to me." And he didn't know what it was. And then he was informed that there was this clause, and he was stunned that CBS Radio, which owned us, had agreed to this clause. And to this day, I can't tell you why they did, except he kind of had a reputation for being tough.
Oh, yeah.
And for 3 or 4 years, we never spoke. And the show got much better.
Angelo, Pat asked you about defining moment, and you did a throwaway line. You said, yeah, it's going to be something negative. On that, was it a concentrated effort on your part to bring up the negative to entice the fans, or was that the subject matter of Philadelphia sports that was presented to you?
I'm proud to say it came naturally to me. I see. You want to talk about the Eagles this year?
Oh, geez. Yes.
They're 10-3. That defense is one of the worst defenses I've ever seen in my life. Do you know they're 30th in the league in pass defense? They're last in third down conversions. They're last. So when they were 10-1, Bob, I was bitching. Now, my dog was the only one who heard it because I'm not on the air anymore. But I was complaining then. By nature, when I'm watching a sporting event, I'm waiting for something to aggravate me. And it usually doesn't take long.
Pat, you have a little common DNA.
Yeah, I get very.
Oh, you're like that?
Oh,
Pat?
yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
All
yeah.
right, but Pat, I want to give you some advice because I heard you before say you don't pay attention after losses
Yeah.
to the press conferences. Listen closely. You will hear people dodge and bob and weave and then use it.
We don't talk boxing though.
You see, we're not allowed.
That was good.
It was kind of
It was good. It was good.
Thank you
But
very
it's
much.
feast.
surprising.
Good.
In your career, you came from journalism to segueing into radio. What was the biggest misconception that you had coming into this job?
That it was journalism.
That's interesting.
No, I came and if you heard, we tried to destroy all the early tapes, but there's probably one out there somewhere that I would come on and I would pontificate with no sense of humor. I would just, you cannot use that defense in that third down and that kind of stuff. And after the very first show, now this is a positive story about my boss, Big B. He called me in and he went, "Well, how'd you think you did?" I went, "Honestly, maybe a home run, possibly a triple." And he goes, "No, not even close. Don't do that again. You're no longer in journalism. You're in entertainment now. If you're going to say that stuff, find a way to say it that's funny or provocative or something that, raises the level, get people more emotional." And I did. It took a long time to start thinking that way, but you're no longer a journalist until you get to the interview. And now you got the coach on. That's when you go back to the training you had as an interviewer. That's where I think, Bob, you and I would have an advantage in that we did all those interviews as journalists. I think it helps.
When you wake up in the morning and you don't have a microphone, well, first of all, how painful is it for Gail? And second of all, is for yourself. Do you miss it? Do you miss the pulpit? Do you miss the stage?
I don't think so. Although the last 3 weeks I've hoarded myself so much for this book that I'm starting to wonder now.
You have dollars in your G-string.
No,
I mean, you have been out and about.
I have really done a lot with this book, but I did it because it was an homage to the fans that I wanted them. This is really my last goodbye. I'm not going to do podcasts. I'm not going to be in front of a microphone after this.
And you don't miss it.
I don't. Here's what happened. So the first few months, I would still wake up around 3 o'clock, and then I would go, "Ooh, I can sleep."
Right.
And I honestly, if 33 years is not enough for you, I don't think any number would be. It was enough, John. I did as much of it as I could for as long as I could, and I don't have any regrets.
And you're grandpa now. Now you can focus on being grandpa.
Very much.
And treating your grandchildren much differently than you treat your own kids.
I'm in the process of that now. That's a transition too, because they're not a priority, and now they should be. Come on, you got this time, use it. So I got twin grandsons who play soccer. That's a family issue. Not going to lie to you. Soccer, not something I ever loved, but they're good at it and they love it. And I got 3 little tiny ones right near me.
Awesome.
1, 3, and 5, and they're terrific. So yeah, that's John. I guess it took me all these years to figure out that's the most important thing. I always placed my career first, and it was a mistake. But you do what you do. You do what you're wired to do. I was wired to do that.
And you talk about that vividly in the book, that it cost you. The show cost you, building your career cost you, but I'd say where you ended up, then maybe it's exactly what you were supposed to do.
I guess. I say this, John. I don't want to get schmaltzy here.
Don't get too schmaltzy.
I went through depression, a serious case that a couple of mine went. What you do, what you have overcome, is incredibly inspiring to me. I can't tell you enough how inspiring it is. I knew this was when your first recurrence was in Atlanta.
95 and 97.
And you're a tough guy. And I love you for it, man. And I know that the last few weeks have been a little nerve-wracking, but the news I heard today made me feel better than anything else that's going to happen today, John.
Thank you.
You're an amazing guy. You really are. And I can't thank you enough for what you did for our show and all that stuff. It was fantastic.
I wouldn't have a career if you hadn't vouched for me. Bigby put me on the air on Christmas Eve.
Right. I vouched for him. But here's the thing. Here's what I did for John's career. Oh, my God. John from Exton's calling. Let's get him up. He's a great caller. That was all. He did the rest. You understand? He went on. You created these characters. You became. I'll just say this straight out because we had a lot of great contributors to 33 years. You were the most consistently provocative and entertaining we ever had on our show in all those years.
Thank you.
And whenever you indicated to me a desire to come on, did I ever say no?
No, never did.
I would blow off a coach for John Kincade because this guy could say, and
we don't want to save that soundbite.
He would rankle people. He would upset people, and then he would be so funny. When we got to the homage to Johnny Carson.
Yes.
And the Cardax.
Yes, the John Axe, which became
the John
part of it. Now, you had an Anjanac, you said?
All right, now here's the thing. All right, my wife has called it that. I have worked on this hard.
Okay.
I always thought it wasn't that hard to do. This took a month. Would you like to hear?
It was a month? Yes, I'd like to hear your Anjanac.
All right, now, and you will. Hopefully, you're going to have one or two. You've never done it on your show, right?
I have never done the routine ever on the show.
Wow. Now, just say Johnny Carson used to come out in like a turban. I'm not even sure you could do that.
No, you can't even do that anymore.
You couldn't even do that now.
No.
And then he would have an envelope like this one here. Hold on.
Oh, he's got the envelope on him.
I got the envelope, all right? And then he would hold up the envelope to his turban. And then he would say something, and then he would rip open the envelope, blow on it for some reason, pull it out, and give you the answer. So it was like the answer and then the question.
Yes.
All right?
Answer
you
first question. I do. It's the Anjanac. And it took a month?
Anjanac, and this is mine. It took a month. It's just all I have is one.
Okay, that's good.
All right, let's try this, all right?
All right,
I'm going to put this down.
All right, I'll hold it for you.
Here.
I'll hold it for you so you can hear it.
Go.
All right, hold it to your head.
King Kong, Gabe Kepler, and John Kincade.
Okay, so this is going to be a rip on me. Now we got to hear the rip. There you go.
That's the rip.
What is that one? All right. Gabe Kapler. Well, I got to remind King Kong, Gabe Kapler, and John Kincade.
That's what Ed McMahon.
Yes, that's what he would do.
King Kong, Gabe Kapler, John Kincade. Name a chimp, a chump, and a champ. You're the
Very
champ.
good. You did a good job. That's
that
very
good?
good. That is good. Now,
That way I got a shot in on Kapler, too, who I can't stand.
I've never done this, but Ange, I did bring a few envelopes.
Oh, this is great.
Before you exit, you said it's your last one, right?
Yes, this is it.
So I want to make sure that I've paid this the proper homage. We have not done this on this show, and Bob would say it's for very reason because Bob will tell me every day you're not funny. So I mean that's part of the reason, and I trust him as a
Just
journalist. I trust him.
I found you to be
Bob's a good journalist.
You to be an annoying basketball expert when I had you on our show too, Bob.
There we go.
I
All right.
pissed.
Not
real
true.
quick.
He was actually
Yes.
amazing.
I pissed Angelo off once on his
You
show.
did?
I don't,
You did?
don't remember that.
You did?
So I'm driving down the shore with my daughter, and I'm scheduled to be on at a certain time with you. And in all honesty, kind of forgot. So Rhea texts me. I throw the show on, and you're doing you're asking trivia question, and you said, "What's the biggest trade in Philadelphia history? The best trade in Philadelphia history?" Nobody's getting the answer. You're getting pissed off. I didn't know that you had a prize attached to it.
Oh no!
I call in. Angelo takes me on. I said, "Yeah, before we start talking Sixers, can I answer this trivia question?" You said, "Yeah, sure." I go, "Bernie Perron, are you kidding me? Doug Favell, Bernie Perron." He goes, "You stupid bastard. We're giving away prizes for this." I was lost. He asked me a question about the Sixers, and I was like, I don't know. I'm never going to be on this show again.
Doesn't sound like me, Bob.
Well,
okay,
it doesn't sound like you were always very calm and everything.
Yeah,
All right.
can't believe
All right.
that.
I'm going to give you John Eck returns for 3 special ones to get you out of here.
This is awesome.
All right. Pee Wee Herman and Rob Thompson.
Ooh.
This is where you would repeat.
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman and Rob Thompson.
Okay, now 2 men forever famous for yanking things.
Oh boy.
See?
Oh boy.
See?
I mean, the man's dead.
I mean, he is.
The
He
man
is.
is dead.
God rest his soul. How about Jesus' tomb, Capone's vault, and Angelo's wallet?
This is good.
Jesus' tomb, Capone's vault, and Angelo's wallet. Give me 3 things that have only been opened once.
That was pretty good. That was good.
Where do you get the? Where did
I'm just a
come from?
comedic genius, you would say.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, Big Ange and Little Ange.
Oh boy, Big Ange and Little Ange.
Okay, they name something that no longer gets up in the morning and something that no longer gets up at night. Big Ange.
I
Little Ange.
forgot how dirty yours were.
And nasty.
Sorry,
and
Father.
nasty. Father's 5 of those. He did laugh.
I didn't need that visual. I gotta be honest. I didn't need it.
Everybody, well, Pat, this is where I thought you'd insert. No, insert the blue chew joke.
Stop with the
blue chew
insertion
joke.
after the joke.
I think the blue chew code would
I'm
be
not
in line.
inserting anything.
Hey.
Promo code Fanatic.
The book is loud, and Angelo, you are family forever for me, and I appreciate you so much for what you did for me and my family, and I am so proud of you. And everybody, grab the book, get it for any Philly sports fan in your life. Anybody who ever listened to Angelo before we came on the air and you changed, be listening. So,
John,
Ange, I love you.
John, I love you, and I thank you for all that you did for us and for all you're doing now. You are truly an inspiration to every one of us, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Angelo Cataldi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Grab the book, and be sure to do that. We're a little late for break, but we'll get to it next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I love the BetParks Casino and Sportsbook app. It is so easy to use. It's so much fun. I love the fact that you can fund your account easily, and I love the way that I can get paid quickly when I come up and I become a winner. You know what you might like, though? With the odds, bets, slots, and games are right there, too. But how about playing with
52.
What?
We're
breaking at 52.
Oh, yeah.
Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Everybody's in eating, getting their breakfast on this morning, which is great. And I say to the guys, Bob, whatever you brought back smells really, really good.
Yeah, I got a sausage and cheese on an everything bagel. My God, sausage, egg, and cheese. It is delicious.
Well, it's thanks from our friends at Homegrown Coffee and Creations.
They're such nice dudes, too.
It's awesome to see. And everybody's in there getting their food now. Nobody wanted to leave when Ange was here. South Philly's favorite coffee and breakfast spot where every trip to the stadium should begin. Go to 1515 West Porter Street and find out for yourself. Thank you, Homegrown Coffee and Creations. And I think we're going to be getting to know these guys very, very well with a lot of our live shows. So congratulations and thank you to them. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us there. We did not have a winner. Alan Iavecchia did not call in.
Aw, man.
So, he did
call.
call. Oh, I'm sorry, Gunn.
Wow.
We did not
Let's
know.
do that again.
So, Gunn, in other words, we're 2 for 2 this week. We did have a winner, a double winner. Right, Gunner? Yes, we had a double winner. I thought he was going to come on and talk to me there.
We had a double winner today.
That's nice. This week.
Called right away.
Oh, that's awesome.
I didn't want to interrupt the interview with Ange, so
That's
told him we'll get him his prizes.
That's awesome news. He is going to win the $150 Amazon gift card and passes to see Silent Night, which is a horror flick, you say, Pat, right? Horror
No, I got that wrong.
No?
Stolen Movie Guy Valor. It's not a horror flick. It's an action movie.
It's an action movie.
I was told it was like John Wick. I apologize to everybody I let down.
Well,
it will not happen again. It will happen again.
Alan Iavecchia will be glad to go see it and enjoy it. Plus, that $150 Amazon gift card is going to come in. He's also going to win the comedy tickets, which is great. He wins a pair of tickets to see Sebastian Maniscalco on September 27th of next year.
Oh, Maniscalco's good.
At Wells
is
Fargo Center.
He's hilarious.
He is one of the fastest risers right now in live shows, too.
Oh, he's the king right now. I mean, I saw Maniscalco probably 2 years ago, right after the pandemic at the
Yeah, I remember
Wells
when you
Fargo.
went, and I said to you, what's a
Oh,
comedy
man.
show like at the Wells Fargo?
So much fun. He has an opening act too, so you get like a good 3 hours of comedy. It's pretty good.
It's some tickets remain at Ticketmaster.com. Some tickets remain. Alan Iavecchia, thank you for making us a winner. So we're 2 for 2 this week, and it'll be Andrew Salchunas, who's looking to also go 2 for 2. And that'll come up today at noon. And then at 4 o'clock this afternoon on the best show ever, your chance to win fabulous prizes on the Fanatic prize wheel, which also one of our listeners said, Haley is the best prize win spinner. So Haley getting quite the reviews too, which is great. That was fun having Angelo with us. That was a nice little trip down memory lane. Get the book, Get Loud, and I think you'll enjoy the book. And and if you're a Philly sports fan, it really does take you on a little bit of a ride through the last 30 years.
All right, I have a question
Yes,
that
sir.
I'd like to put out there to our diminished studio audience and
they're all
everybody
eating.
is getting something to eat. But since you're here, you listen to the show, you kind of know us as people a little bit. If John Kincade were to write a book and it was a one-word title, what would you guys give that title to be?
Wow. A one word, and it's got to be a one-word title.
We can think on it. I asked Pat the same question earlier about himself. Had he written something, what would the one-word title be? Pat came up with mistake.
Well, that would be
it
that. Wouldn't
just
that be?
fits.
Wouldn't that be if your parents wrote the book? Wouldn't that? I mean,
Well,
or is that,
he's honest
Yeah.
enough to know it.
Yeah, like it's a level of self-awareness that you clearly don't have, Johnny.
Well, I don't. I would say Brendan Gunn says bullpucky should be the one word. I would say relentless. Because
I was going to say Survivor, Relentless. to you,
relentless.
something like
I'm a
that.
little relentless.
That's a good one.
And I can also be relentless on stupid stuff too, as you well know, Bob. You know, sharing, sharing.
Oh, I know.
So I mean, you know it too. I can be
I
relentless.
got a little nervous when Father walked in today, and he says, "Bob, can I see you for a second?" I said, "What's up?" He goes, "I just want to give you a blessing."
Hey, a little blessing.
I listen every day. God,
He brought
God
the holy
bless
water
you.
with him,
Yeah,
which
so,
is great.
Much appreciated.
It
Bob.
was. It is. We talked so much about the Eagles today, and it was interesting to hear Angelo talking about the fact is there's never anything that sells better in this town than critique of coaches. It always seems like it is the way. It is the way that people make the make the biggest connection. I would think that one thing I'm real proud of is I don't think any time that we criticize it's contrived. I think it's always based on something. as far as it's not contrived critique. And honestly, I feel like the Storm, we saw a lot of the elements of the Storm that's happening in December. We saw a lot of these elements through the course of the year. And there were people going, you guys are being negative. Oh my gosh, they're 7-1. What are you being negative about? And that is because you saw it wasn't going to be good enough against the best teams.
Yeah, and we weren't being negative.
No.
We were carrying on through what the coaches were saying. They were also saying they weren't playing their best football.
Yes.
We got sick and tired of Jalen Hurts after another win, saying we're not playing up to standard. All of that, it was right there out in front of us. Besides watching the games and the eye test being what it was, I don't want to say the Eagles were failing the eye test when they're winning games, but they weren't meeting the standards. If I'm going to quote Jalen Hurts.
There's the standard again,
but,
Bobby.
But I don't think we were being negative. I
don't either.
Look, Angelo said something that kind of opened my ears a little bit when he said he got called into that first meeting and said, "Yeah, you're not a journalist anymore. You're here to be entertaining and all that stuff." Well, that's what you're here for, John, and that's what you're really good at, and your sports talk stuff. I still do the journalistic thing.
Because I think if somebody is going to be all opinion, which I am, then I think it's great to have somebody around who says, well, I've been in a ton of these situations before, and you're missing the point on this, or you're missing the point on that from a journalistic standpoint.
Yeah.
I think that's positive.
So point being, point being is that, contrived isn't a word that's really in my vocabulary when we're talking about it's like the honest feelings of backed by some facts of what's going on in this city right now. And sometimes it's not favorable. That's why I asked Angelo the question of, did you go towards the negative because it was a better sell? Or was that what this sports city presented to you? And his answer was perfect. No, it was an honest feeling. That's why you can carry through for 33 years like he did, because he's being honest with himself and he's being honest with his listeners.
And I think it really is him. And that's the bottom line. And it's something that I definitely learned from him is don't be somebody that you're not. Like if you got weird quirks and you do whatever it is, don't be somebody you're not. Don't act like you don't have them. Pat, I mean, that's something that
just
you've
be
definitely
yourself.
embraced.
Yeah, I think in this city more than most, they can kind of see through a phony and a fake. So
you got to be who you are.
Yeah, just own it. If you have a bad opinion, bad take, it happens. You move on. You don't hide from it. And you just be yourself.
So the live
being trying to just act a certain way, it's just exhausting.
It is, and more importantly, it's supposed to, I think it's a format, in my opinion, that has gotten a lot less fun. I think the format has become a lot more corporate, and it doesn't seem as fun. And I would say there are things like I'll tell our young crew behind the scenes, there are things that we did in radio 20 years ago that would get you fired today. You would absolutely be shown the door for doing the same exact things today. And I think that takes away from the format a bit, that people used to be a little more able to joke, able to laugh, able to smile. I think we live in a much tougher time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, forget the jokes and smiles. We want X's and O's, John. That's what we're all about.
And the funny thing is I don't believe that the majority of people come for X's and O's. I think they come for saying, well, what is your opinion on this, or what is it? And then they want to disagree or they want to agree, and they want to get in on it. Right now with this Eagles coaching staff, though, nothing is in agreement. There doesn't seem – there were people who have been carrying the water for the two coordinators through a large portion of this season and trying to make every excuse in the book for it. And it can be expert after expert. And whatever you want to believe, if somebody's an expert in their field or because they were an ex-player or whatever. But the criticism of this Eagles approach, defensively and offensively, is uniform. There's nobody defending it. So if anybody's defending it in Philly, I don't know what you're watching, or you're just going by, they're sixth in points scored in the NFL.
So if the defense changes anything, if Sean Desai brings his group in next week and something changes, what is going to be most notable to us as followers, fans of the football team?
I think they're going to get after quarterback.
That's the thing. It's going to be, you got to blitz, you got to blitz, you got to blitz. Okay.
And that has not been good for them, as you point out.
Right. I mean, that's the most notable thing that people will want and see, because you can blatantly see, oh, my God, they brought more than 4 guys. But it doesn't work. I mean, you're talking about
No, it
10 for
doesn't.
11s for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, it doesn't work when they blitz. They're not good at blitzing because they have zero coverage over the top. And when that happens, you're talking about one-on-ones, and boom, it's over. So the scheme that Sean Desai is going to have to change up with this team might be something that we don't really notice per se. It's not going to be, what do we notice? We notice blitzing, and we're going to notice if you're right up on wide receivers as opposed to backing up.
Yes, exactly.
Well, he's got to come up with something that is probably even over our heads, that is stopping things. And whether that's
Absolutely.
rotation of safeties during a play, disguising coverages, which we can't see on television anyway, it's not going to be the most obvious things to us. And if it is, it's trouble, because the most obvious thing, which is blitzing, does not work for this team.
If this team gets punked by Drew Lock on Monday night, or this team gets punked even by Geno Smith, and I sort of like Geno Smith's game a little bit. If either one of those guys does a Sam Howell and looks like they're ready for the Pro Bowl, I'm going to be really pissed on Tuesday morning. I am going to be completely. At that point, I will think the wheels have fallen off the wagon.
Yeah, at that point, it's not a rut that you're stuck in. It's that's the standard that they talk about. Like, that is it. It's not a good standard, but that's the standard, is your defense gets torched by anybody who can throw a football.
It's so funny, too, is with the whole standard stuff, is that I've never heard people refer to it, coaching staff, every single one of the coaches. Jalen Hurts constantly. Some of the other players on offense and defense have referenced it, and they never define it. They never define it.
No,
they never define what the standard is.
I think we're just supposed to assume it's what we saw last year.
Which would be great.
No, I think, Stan, I've said this before. Sorry, Pat. I think standard's perfection.
Really?
I do. I've said this before. I think standard is perfection. It's unattainable, but why aren't you always looking for perfection? Don't you want to be a perfect person, a perfect husband, a perfect father? You're always trying to be that. That's the standard to be. Is it realistically attainable? Probably not. Definitely not. But that's what you're striving for. He's striving to go 24 for 24 for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. It's probably not going to happen, but that's the standard that you set for yourself.
I would think it's really easy for one of them to sit behind a microphone and say, what's the standard? I think the standard, if you're Jalen Hurts, the standard is I got to play a clean game. I can't cough up the ball.
And then we say that's it?
No, and then
You know what I mean?
he'll go on more. Is that I got to play an efficient game. I have to keep the chains moving. We got to win time of possession. These are the things we want to check off every week as being our standard. It's easy to just say it. To just get up there.
You already know it. But you just labeled it perfectly, John. You did it perfectly, exactly.
But how do I know that that's what he considers the standard?
Because that's the standard every quarterback should have. They're looking for perfection.
Hey, we got plenty coming up. Is as you look at this team right now, do you think, is there anything that you're hearing that you consider to be too negative as far as critique of this coaching staff, critique of where this team is at right now? Because there's some of you out there, and you can join us at 610-632-0975. It's the John Kincade Show. We do have some of our live audience back because they were not eating at the moment, so they can just hear you as we leave here on 97.5, The Fanatic. Hey, if you want to hit a home run with the best Christmas gift ever, why don't you check out Pajamagram? Because I can tell you this, guys, this is a gift for you, but it is also a gift for her. Yeah, but the gift's going to go to her. But you see, you get the benefit because she's going to be wearing those naturally nude pajamas. Sorry, Father. The here too, because Andrew Salchunas is with us
right.
Hello,
in the
what's
9
up?
o'clock
That's
hour.
my former
What's up?
neighbor, my coworker.
But not friend.
Not friend.
Not my friend.
Not friend.
9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You knew that, Chunas. You've heard that over time. Get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. For details, go to bagster.com. Andrew Salchunas from Middays on the Fanatic.
Yeah, I found it interesting that after Angelo left, everybody went out to go get food.
Yeah, they all waited till
No
Angelo
surprise.
was in and gave that.
That was awesome, by the way. It was great. I listened the entire time. It was very compelling.
It was fun to hear. He was a big influence.
Yeah, of
big
course.
influence. So
big influence for the city too. For
Oh my
what we
gosh,
do.
huge.
Obviously for you, but
huge.
for what we do.
Yeah,
for
I
a
don't
living,
know if
it's
we have a
amazing.
career if not guys.
No,
like
no,
Mike
no.
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Mike Missinelli. You know, you think of Mike. You know, as one of those guys, as one of those trailblazers.
Steve Fredericks.
In this, Howard Eskin.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
there's names, and I know people go, oh my God, he's saying names from the other station. I don't give a damn.
Oh, we'll dump it. Don't worry.
I don't give a damn. These are the people who, thankfully, I have a career because I grew up listening to them.
Yeah.
And you grew up listening to everybody.
No,
because
that's actually not
You're
true.
22,
Yeah, but,
23?
30.
30?
Almost. But
30?
no, I didn't listen to sports radio. I've told
You didn't? Yeah, you did. You said that.
Yeah, I just kind of started doing it. And it was kind of fun.
You didn't need to listen because you were so in love.
Well, no, I mean, once I started, then I started listening to everybody, and I thought that helped me out a lot because I'm not just some punk kid walking in here thinking I could do stuff.
Well, you still are a punk kid, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely, aren't we
still
all?
punk.
But I mean, it's incredible how you learn so much from listening to guys like you and listening to Angelo over the years, and it's great for us, and that's what I've always said to when I talk to kids that are trying to get in here, right? They're like, oh, what can I do? Listen.
Yes.
Like, you might have a podcast. I did Temple Radio, right?
Yes.
I would yell and scream on the Temple Radio because I knew what I was talking about. And then I started listening to people that actually do it. And I go, oh, okay, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
It's
Well,
like
I think we're all going to figure it out in a year or two.
Well,
I
maybe.
think we'll all figure it out.
it's like kids that want to write for a living. You
Right.
know, read.
Yeah,
What?
Like
exactly.
read. Everything that
read?
you do well in life, you imitate.
Right, absolutely.
And so read from the best writers. If you're going to want to be a sports writer, read the best sports writers. And, all of that. You're exactly right.
That's
as
why I
far as-
watched film of Michael Jordan. Like,
You were
why-
right there.
That's why
I've heard
I
about
just didn't
it.
get my
It was
shot.
close.
I didn't get my shot. That's all.
When you hear what Angelo has to say and what he shared with us, that knowledge of just the Philly will never tire of critique of their coaches and managers. I think it's something that I learned from him, but I truly do believe it. I just think in today's day and age, it requires a little more nuance as far as people want you to be more, because everybody's got their phones out and they get their
Right.
stat. And they got
But
whatever
it's
stat they
also
believe in.
it's strange, right? So you guys were also talking about how much people have changed, right?
The
I
sports
remember
fans in this town are completely changed.
year one of Jalen Hurts as a starter. I was
Yes.
extremely critical. He has improved so much in his career. His first year as a starter, they had to run the football just to get to the playoffs. And oh, by the way, they had to play, 3 teams that had quarterbacks out because of COVID and because of injuries. They shouldn't have made the playoffs that year. If teams were fully healthy and didn't have COVID, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. But because they made the playoffs and because Jalen Hurts was the quarterback, I was a hater, right? Like, I was the bad dude. Like, how dare you? And it's like, whoa, hold on a second. We can't criticize players anymore?
No.
But coaches still do. Doc Rivers never won a game in this town.
Listen to people, yeah.
He lost every game in this town, but he never won a game.
And it is something that I just like. I look back at it, and Pat and Bob will get on me about it. It's like I look back. I think the stupidest thing I heard last year all year was Jonathan Gannon. Just is it? And now we see how bad it can be. We see how bad it can be.
Come on, man.
Come on. We see how bad it can be. The biggest impactful defense in the history of the franchise.
I don't think you're getting any sympathy from.
I know.
No,
but it
no,
is,
no.
but the thing is, though,
I will not leave
but
that
it is.
aside.
But it is. He sucks. He's terrible. No, you may not like certain things that he does.
There's a lot of things.
But he had the most impactful defense ever. Not Jim Johnson, not Buddy Ryan. He did.
Yeah, he had more talent last year, too, than this team.
He had a great talent. Oh,
I mean,
no.
I mean, this team, literally, Christian Ellis was playing linebacker 2 weeks ago and had to get cut.
How come we never hear about the Eagles' injuries? By the way, this town doesn't reflect like people are like, well, all these people are injured and quarterbacks are injured and things like. We never hear about the Eagles' injuries being the reason that they're not.
No, it's strange. Ray and I have talked about this a lot during the midday show. There's always different stuff, like how national media react to Philadelphia, not just injuries. David Carr says how Jalen Hurts can't read a defense after one bad game. Stephen A. Smith, who I respect, right? We talk about titans in the industry. Stephen A. Smith talks about how the Eagles, they were delegitimized. They're NFC champions last year because of the way the San Francisco 49ers beat them up. How come nobody talks about Brock Purdy as the guy that, like Chris Sims, Oh, well, I mean, if you put any quarterback in that lineup,
Yeah.
he'd be just fine. They said that about Jalen Hurts. Has anybody said that about Brock Purdy? He's got Debo, he's got Brandon Ayuk, he's got George Kittle, he's got Christian McCaffrey, he's got that offensive line. But no, he's the darling, right? Because he's the Mr. Irrelevant final pick in the draft. But Jalen Hurts is a second-round pick who was like a third or fourth-round draft grade. He plays with A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, and he benefits because of that. But Brock Purdy's he's the reason why that operation ticks in San Francisco.
It
It's
should be the
weird.
start of
That's
your
a
show
great
today.
point, man.
It might be.
That's very thoughtful.
Who knows?
Well, it's funny. There was a column written last week or before San Francisco came into town by one Mike Sealski.
I saw that
That
column.
became very controversial about how
Yes.
much of a god Brock Purdy would have been. Taken out of context, there was a lot of things. The column was actually
Right,
fine.
it was the tweet that
It was the
bothered
tweet
people.
that he didn't do. And
Yeah, I thought the column was dead on
I
accurate.
thought it was awesome.
yeah,
I thought it was very
Great
accurate.
read.
Yeah, but we don't like to go back saying, "Oh, last year," because it doesn't make any difference. The next game is Seattle. Last year really doesn't. But I do want to ask you this, Andrew, and you brought it up since you bring it up. Is this year's San Francisco 49ers team how much better than last year Philadelphia Eagles team?
I on par. Like
Okay, no, it's an honest question.
The Eagles
I'm not,
were dominant last year, right? Like we talk about the Eagles were 10-1 at one point. Now they're 10-3. But what were we saying all season long? They just still haven't had that blowout win. They had blowout wins last year, a lot of them. And then there were the couple of trap game situations, like the Indianapolis game, the Arizona game, the Houston game. But they just kept finding ways to win. It's not like San Francisco was dominant this past weekend against Seattle. They found a way to win. But people keep on talking, oh, look at this team. They just keep on winning. That was the Eagles last year. So I would almost say on par to the Eagles last year because it's going back to what I just said. Look at all those weapons that Brock Purdy has. The same weapons kind of that Jalen Hurts had last year and has this year. So I would say on par.
okay.
Defense
Fair
may be
enough.
a little bit different, but the Eagles had 70 sacks last year. Like they had a historic defense last year.
Yeah,
And then the offense set up a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because they were up 2 scores and able to tee off on people.
Yeah, so I would say very similar because you expect almost the offense, the 49ers offense, to score every time they have the football. 6 straight times against the Eagles. I expected the Eagles to put up points every drive last year.
What Eagles topic are you sick of talking about? What Eagles topic makes you like bang your head against the microphone?
You know what? I kind of hate the. They could easily be, 7 and whatever.
Yeah,
they're
that's
10-3 right now. They could easily be 7-6. But they're not.
Yeah.
They won
Yeah,
those
right?
games. They
Yeah.
found ways to win. They got stops when they needed to get stops. They scored. They came from behind when they needed to come from behind. They scored touchdowns. They made adjustments. That is a part of football. Like just because you have a bad first quarter doesn't mean you have a bad game.
But why do
reason
you
to-
keep
reason
on
to play
having
forward.
bad first quarters?
Well, I mean,
Like this team has had bad first quarters for 2 months.
yeah, it's been weird because they're actually driving downfield. They're just not.
Yes.
They're not finishing in the red zone the last couple of weeks. You brought up the stat on the pregame show a few weeks ago, Bob, that they were 10 for their last 10 scoring touchdowns in the red zone, and now since then they've kind of gone back down. So it's weird. I mean, it seems like game plan wise, sometimes it's good, but then they can't finish the job. Or sometimes the game plan isn't great, but the adjustments are good. Good teams find ways to win. So I think that's the thing that I'm most tired about. If Marquez Valdez-Scantling caught that football, they would have lost that game. Well, they also would have had a minute and a half and 2 timeouts left. And at the time, Jalen Hurts, nobody hated Jalen Hurts, right? At the time, we all thought, if Jalen Hurts had 90 seconds to go downfield and 2 timeouts, he'd score.
By the way, just want to throw you in. Andy sends me an email and wanted to thank you guys for same game parlays. He made $230 the other day.
Nice.
He donated $80 to the AACR.
Oh, that's awesome.
and
good.
kept
That's cool of Andy
150.
to
But
do
he said,
that.
"What are you guys giving away winners on the pregame show?"
That's what we do.
Well, what we
Now,
do
who was
is-
responsible?
Giving pregame
I asked
show.
him. He didn't answer me in the email. Who's responsible for the winners? Like, who did you all win in the pregame show?
we do 2 at the end of every segment, so we end up having a 10-leg parlay.
10 leg, right? Yeah.
So it's up to you if you want to go all 10 or if you want to maybe pick
He
your
won
favorite.
$230.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he
on
must have picked and chose.
multiple bets that you guys gave out.
Yeah, so if you just do the individual bets, they
Okay.
do hit. It's just, if you do a 10-leg parlay and one doesn't hit, you
Right.
lose.
Like here's some from last week. A.J. Brown over 80.5
Gotcha.
we had. C.D. Lamb under 92
You
and
hit.
a half.
That's
we
it.
had.
And that was crazy.
Was Hurts over 39.5 rushing? I don't think he was.
No, because they stopped running the football.
So
Yeah.
you're giving
So
one
we had-
every
yeah.
segment, like type of thing.
We had Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions, which
Yeah.
was yours. So yeah, we give it.
You guys are
we
giving
give
out winners,
10.
though.
That's what we do.
what
so
we
here's
do.
the question I want to ask you guys. It just popped into my head. Do you think the Eagles played better last week than they did against San Francisco, and is that a positive thing?
Yes.
They did. And nobody wants to hear it, but Devontae Smith dropped a touchdown pass. A.J. Brown dropped a potential touchdown pass, or it would have led to a tush push, and now all of a sudden they have 27 points. And the conversation,
totally different game.
And you didn't even bring up 3 fumbles.
And 3 fumbles. They just didn't execute. So they did play better than San Francisco. I'm not feeling better, though, because of it.
You're not, though?
They lost 30.
Pat refused earlier. I tried to give Pat homework. He said, screw you. I'm not doing it. I love the 11-minute games. Watching the 11, 12-minute games.
They lost by 3 scores.
No, but the thing is, the
that.
Dallas game, though, when you watch the Dallas 12-minute game and you watch the San Francisco 12-minute game, the 12-minute game in San Francisco, you think this team's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
You watch the Dallas game, you go, it's execution. They can fix these things. Everything can be fixed from Dallas.
Yes, it can be. But here's going to be a problem that we're going to hear for the next month, right? I'm going to teaser for the next month of sports content or calls or tweets that you'll get. It's going to be just like the freaking Sixers and wake me up when they get out of the second round. It's going to be, all right, they beat Seattle. All right, they beat New York. All right, they beat Arizona. Wake me up when they play San Francisco or Dallas in the playoffs. And that's what those 2 losses have now also put in my brain.
Is that fair? Is it fair for someone to have that opinion, though?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it is, too.
I tell you what, I don't think after the last 2 games you can be that cavalier about saying wake me up when they get to the second round. Honest to God. The way they played the last 2 games, you bring in a playoff team, I don't care if it's here or if they have to go there, you're comfortable to say, yeah, no problem there. You got that game. Not the way they played the last 2 weeks.
You can't
not
say
at
that.
all.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting question, though, because I thought about it. It popped in my head as you were talking. You did have a chance against Dallas. Like you as lopsided as it was, 3 fumbles, the 2 missed catches that you talk about. Did they improve on their play? They only gave up 6 points, I think, or 9 points in the second half to Dallas. I don't know. Did the defense find something? Was there improvement? Are we not seeing that? I don't know. It didn't come into my mind that it was
better. If you're going to ask me, did they play better against Dallas and San Francisco? Absolutely. But am I feeling better because they played better in a game where they still lost by 20 points? Like, no.
I always feel better when something can be fixed. I always feel worse when it's something that, that's probably not going to be fixed because the personnel's not good enough.
I just don't know what's going to get fixed. Offense could get fixed.
I do too.
We talked about this on Sunday. There's still this in the back of my mind. Are they still holding some stuff off the field because they want to save it come playoff time? We did see some different routes. Like Devontae Smith was running different routes this past Sunday.
Well, they gave up the number 1 seed to experiment if that was the case.
Exactly. And I don't like that, but I still wonder in the back of my mind, is there still some stuff that they haven't shown on tape because they don't want to put it on the field, and then they all of a sudden, when they play these teams again in the playoffs, because let's face it, who are you going to play probably in the playoffs? Either Dallas or San Francisco, if not both.
Unless you're the 2 seed.
But defensively,
then you might get away with it.
Defensively, I don't know how you can get better.
You ain't hiding anything there.
Right, exactly. What's going to change?
And if you are, somebody's going to get hurt.
They try blitzing, right? We scream all the time, blitz more. They try blitzing, and they don't get home, and then there's a big completion. There's a big play. They try playing soft zone coverage. They get picked apart because of personnel. They try to play man, and it seems like maybe Darius Slay and James Bradbury lost a step, even though Slay actually ended up having a good game. These guys have lost a step a little bit, and you're banged up. We just go back to the injury thing. I mean, Reed Blankenship seems to be banged up every single game. Fletcher Cox seems to be the new Jason Peters, where he's leaving games, every single week. And it's kind of at that point, which sucks, but they do have an offense that can score 30 points, and you can potentially outscore teams.
Is this roster more likely to have wholesale, like big name changers of guys retiring, guys walking away, if they win or if they lose?
I mean, is it like they win? Because people like to go out on a high note. People don't want to walk out after losing. I mean, that's arguably why Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson are back.
But after losing, you're going to be forced to make this team's going to have to be forced to make huge changes on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think player-wise, they'll probably know what's going on. Like, I wonder if a guy like Jason Kelsey goes, man, I've been here for a long time, and this doesn't look like we're heading in the right direction. Which, look, they're still going to win 13, 14 freaking games, right? Like, they're still a good football team. But I wonder if they lose, maybe they go, I can't do that again. I mean, look, the off-season training, it's a 365-day job now. How many times have you heard, man, back in the day, people showed up to camp out of shape?
You could be
now you're in shape showing up to camp, right?
So it looks like the workout, sorry, John,
right.
that players post in the off-season are probably as grueling, if not more grueling than anything they go through in training
More
camp.
grueling than training
Running
camp.
up hills with 30-pound bags on their back.
Right.
I mean,
You do that every afternoon, Bob.
I'll tell you what. I can't do anything anymore. I'm starting to ingratiate the fact that Pat calls me Pup Up.
I love calling you Pup Up.
I'm starting.
You're my Pup Up.
So is your wife.
Like I asked him today. I said, "Look, Pup Up has to put some wood in the backyard. Can you come over and help me bring a wheelbarrow?"
Hey now.
And Pat's like, "Nah, Pup Up, I think you got this. You just take your time. If you start feeling pain, sit down and."
If it snows, you need me to shovel your
And what did I
driveway
get
this year?
you? What did I get you for your birthday? A life alert.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you use it?
No, he doesn't wear it anymore.
You don't use it. So when you're out there, put on your life alert.
That's funny you bring that up. So my mother-in-law.
Now you just gave away what I'm giving to my brother for Christmas.
Yeah, real quick. Last night my mother-in-law slept over, and we were talking to her. She's 83 or whatever, and we brought that same thing up. Like, well, where is it? She goes, "It's fine. It's in my drawer in the kitchen." Like,
What's that help you?
Do
you get the point of it?
Yeah, but
Gotta crawl over
Let me
to it
crawl
now.
to the kitchen and be able to get it. So
Yeah,
I just remind him when he calls me Pup Up that I still could kick your ass. So that's
If you want to go, bud, we just got to film it for social media and web content.
Okay, just
But
let
we
me know.
can go.
Yeah, all right.
Take off your shirt and wrestle me.
did you and Pat? I want your answer to this too. Did you in any way take offense or question when Angelo said, "Yeah, this fan base has completely changed"?
No, because I
from
talk
the
about
time
it
you
all the
started?
time.
Yeah, you do. You're an old soul.
So I came to a realization with Anthony probably 3 years ago. And it's, you know what? I know exactly when it was. It was after they won the Super Bowl because week two. Week two, they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes,
And
bad game.
I was angry. And then I was hey, whoa, they just won the Super Bowl. Leave them be. And I'm like, well, I want to win again. Like,
one way to consume Eagles football.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
and
it.
And it's probably because of my dad. Like, you should see the texts I get every single
I've
week.
seen the videos of your father.
They could be up 30-0, and it's screw this guy, fire this guy. This guy stinks. But something I came to a realization was, I think a lot of people my generation don't want to be their dads. They don't want to be I mean, how many times do you hear about snowballs at Santa? And I even heard Angelo bring up the batteries at JD Drew. We're talked about so negatively that I think people are trying to do the opposite of what led to this. What they go, oh man, well, we're actually not that bad of people.
Except for that J.O. out in front of the Eagles practice facility yesterday.
Yeah, that guy was an ass.
That is such an ass. You're an ass. I tell you, I'm not going to celebrate you. I'm not going to say that you're like, it's great, good job, funny. No, you're an ass.
You tweet it out all the time. That's fine. I doubt Sean Desai is looking at your Twitter account, but you're standing outside his place of business. Like, that's, come on, man.
And Bradbury and Slay.
Yeah, that's
You're putting
weird.
trash cans out there?
Yeah,
I would like to
strange.
see them pull up and step out.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
But
I think people don't want to be the previous generation in terms of the Philadelphia sports fan, and I think that's why there's some people that go so far the opposite. Like, God forbid I criticize Jalen Hurts for having a bad game.
Yes.
Or God forbid, the only weird thing is like Embiid. Like, everybody hates Joel Embiid.
I don't buy that. I seriously.
Do you talk to the people?
No, but I seriously we do, but I don't buy that. Like I think that is you're taking the callers as the voice of reason. I don't think it because I don't believe
Guy drops 50.
Every
like,
kid
every
kid I know has Maxey or Embiid.
Okay.
They all Maxey or Embiid.
Well, let me start off by saying I just hope that when I leave work today, there's nobody outside with a sign and a trash can for me.
Oh, should I put it away?
I would appreciate it if you did and send the crisis actor home. I think when the teams
Ray's starting the show. I'm gonna be
live from the parking lot. Yeah, it's not turkey drop. It's just hate on Egan. I think that the fan base lost a massive edge once they moved out of the link. Once they moved into the lane. Once the vet came down, the rough exterior of Philadelphia sports fans, for the most part,
that's a
came
great
down.
theory.
You had a beautiful building in Citizens Bank Park. You had this new building that sucks in the link.
I love the link.
I can't stand the
So
link.
do
I love it. I think it's horrible. But you have these two brand new buildings, whereas the vet was a toilet bowl.
Oh yeah.
But it was our toilet bowl. We loved it. We loved telling the stories about pick your own section nights during bad Philly seasons and
you and your dad
700 levels and stuff. Yeah, like it was a point of pride of like, yeah, that place sucks and it's rat infested, but it's ours. And then you want to treat something nice, right? So you get Citizens Bank Park, you get the Lincoln. And I think with that, and I can just tell you just from game day experience, the staff was informed to like cut down on that.
Do you think there's a smartness that comes into it though? Like, does the fan base at some point maybe a little bit collectively say, you know what? Us being asses and stuff hasn't really worked. We don't win championships around here. Maybe a different approach is.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, you still to the point of like not acting like an ass. You still got Eagles chance at Phillies games, which I think is the dumbest thing in the world going on. What you won't though get is if you start yelling like this dude sucks, you've got somebody from the crew coming up to you being like, "Yo, stop." And you didn't get that at the vet. You know, it was like it was a free for all. You could say whatever you wanted.
But as Angelo pointed out, let's have a standing ovation to make sure somebody feels good.
Hey, it worked.
It didn't work when it counted, but I mean, they maybe needed to do a second.
They were one win away from the World Series.
Yeah, it was a great ending. It was.
I can tell by the way you bring it up every day,
and it was terrible.
Every day you bring it up,
and it was terrible.
Like. They were one win away from the World Series.
This is the difference.
Look,
this is.
I'm not going to sit here and get mad every day because they were one win away.
But that's the difference. Is that that was a choke job of epic proportions by an entire team.
It's baseball. They had a bad 3-game stretch.
Yeah.
And I don't think Trey Turner was the reason why.
Here's why I didn't like the Trey Turner standing.
I don't like you.
He was 0 for 27. That was Castellanos.
My issue was, what if it didn't work? Now, fortunately, Pat, to your point, it did work. Because all of a sudden he then goes on freaking tear.
Look, by the way,
and the NLDS
I was shocked.
Tremendous.
I was shocked it worked.
Oh, me too. Like
to John's
it was
point,
the weirdest thing.
Yes, exactly.
Actually
I was
worked.
blown away.
But if it didn't work, like, what was the next step?
Yeah,
were you gonna boo again? And now this year, what if Trey Turner has a slow April?
Are we
gonna do another standing ovation?
To John's point, like if we do another standing ovation for a Nick Castellanos who goes 0 for 47, and it doesn't end up working, then yeah, people are gonna go. All right, like. If you remember when they did the standing ovation, he comes up the first at bat.
He had a bleeder.
Yeah, like
it was caught.
It was caught. Yeah, and I thought, oh god,
Then he got 2 hits that night, right?
Yeah,
I think he got 2 more hits, but it was like, oh god, this isn't gonna go well. Like your first at bat was the same as your other at bats.
I just don't like the contrived nature of it.
Nah, I got
Like,
you.
it just doesn't fit, and that is something that never would have happened in this town a previous generation.
I like when I'm not having a good show and people cheer me. I like it.
It just goes-
Wait till I boo you at the break.
He's having a terrible show today.
Hey,
Come on.
Thank you. We're all thinking it, but I appreciate your support.
It just goes back to what I always say. There are no rules to fandom.
Bob's. That
There
should
are
be
no rules.
That should, we have a
That's why
T-shirt on that on the
full word is
website.
fanatic. That's why the full word is fanatic, because there just are no rules. You can say everything you want about how should they act. I'm just like, yeah, they're a fan. They can cheer, they can boo, they can do this, they can do that. Once you cross the line, I don't.
Right, exactly.
But you can do whatever you want.
Like tweeting at Darius Slay's wife.
I mean,
That's uncalled for.
Freaking weird.
And that's the thing, like,
that's
just weird.
the line, and that's
really
low.
weird.
Yeah,
Man,
like I don't know about you guys, and I'm sorry, I
right.
know we're gonna a break, but as soon as they lose a game like San Fran or Dallas, I'm ignoring everything.
You hit mute.
yeah.
Pat's taught me the mute
Yeah.
button, which is awesome.
because everybody's
I enjoy
angry.
X so much better.
There's no, and I don't blame people, but there's no like discourse. It's like anger-filled tweets, and it's just reactionary. And
You
but,
suck.
But like I know I suck. I don't need to be.
No.
reminded
I was
about
just
it.
using that as an example.
I feel attacked.
That's the way it goes.
But I'll look in the mirror.
Hey, you know what? Well, why don't you go get something else from Homegrown Coffee and Creations?
good.
South Philly's favorite coffee and breakfast spot where every trip to the stadium should begin. 1515 West Porter Street. That pork roll sandwich? Dude.
Wait, they had pork roll?
Yes.
yeah. You didn't see that?
Did you?
What? Doc, don't blame my brother.
You had two.
I guarantee you he had one.
He proudly said he had two.
He had yours and his.
By the way, speaking of two, congratulations on your second holiday wheel spinner.
That is it. And you're going to go 2 for 2
I gotta
today?
keep up today, yeah.
Because we're going to give you a standing ovation if you.
Yeah,
well, no,
yeah, please.
best show ever made it a standing ovation.
Yeah, they may
if they
need
keep
one.
rolling over. Hey, great job, Andrew Saltunis, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen. Be
you.
sure to be listening. He has to go do show prep.
What?
Is that
Or Ray?
wait,
No, Ray's
I was
done
about to
all
say,
the show
I was about to
prep.
say, does he do show prep?
Ray's done all the show prep, and now Andrew will just reap the benefits of
Yeah.
it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We got a lot more to come. Much more on the Eagles as we start to take a look at the Seattle Seahawks. Boy. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. With winter here, it's getting colder, duh. And your energy bills are going to be at all-time highs because the economy stinks. So what It's time for Bob's favorite. You better not,
Bobby.
John, you're ruining it.
Well, no, it's already
ruined, Bob.
It's already been
Yeah.
ruined, Bob.
It got ruined a long time ago.
Santa Claus is Hey, coffee and breakfast provided by Homegrown Coffee and Creations. Give these boys a
So
big
good.
ovation. South
So
Philly's favorite
good.
coffee breakfast spot. Every trip to the stadium should begin there. 1515 West Porter Street. The bagels, Bob, you were raving about. Absolutely amazing.
Oh, the whole sandwich was just absolutely fantastic.
perfect.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not a huge eater, as you guys
No,
know.
you're not.
Oh, man. Shoot. That thing was gone.
I had a moment with that sandwich. I think I need a cigarette afterwards.
It was that good, eh?
It was that good. I'm going to be thinking about it quite a bit.
I like that.
It's going to live rent. It's building condos in my head right now. That
Oh, it's
sandwich.
awesome. Really.
So, yeah, definitely check them out if you're in South Philly area for sure. Or if not, make a pilgrimage.
Okay, again, did you guys have as visceral reaction as I had to the jackass, and I'll call him a jackass, out there putting trash cans with players' names on it in front of it? Because one of the things that always bothers me is, and it shouldn't, is that then becomes the national media narrative. And a couple people tipping me off on social media that it's already like, oh, it's going to be on First Take today. You know what Eagles fans are doing. This isn't Eagles fans. The average Eagles fan wouldn't be this much of a jackass to go and put like players' names on trash cans and everything. There is a limit, Bob. There's a line, and it surprises me that it surprises me. It bothers me as much as it does.
Well, you know, you look at it one way that these coaches, players, and all, they chose a profession in which they're going to be in the national spotlight, certainly the local spotlight all the time, and with that comes some of this. I said to my bosses when I was a writer that I would never write a column saying, I want this guy or I think this guy should be fired. Simply because I would go to a team and say, is there a possibility? And then I say, the team might do this.
Okay, right.
But I would never call for another man's job. I just wouldn't. And that's just me.
Now, did that meet any pushback?
It was a long conversation, but my boss understood it, and it was, he was just like, I'll give it to somebody else who'll do it.
Okay, right.
I just don't like calling for somebody else's job. If I say the team, has let on that they might let go of him, or I think the team will let go of him at the end of the year, that's different than me saying I would get rid of him right now. These guys are going down there and asking somebody's husband and father to be fired.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, that's a little too much for me.
It's one of those things, too, though, that you're calling a man trash and you're putting his name on trash cans. I really would. I wish we lived in the day and age when players would roll up and go, really? I'm getting out of the car. And I'm going to go up to you and have a conversation.
I don't say that we don't.
I say I don't think we live in that. I think they would absolutely, Eagle security would say, ignore it.
Yeah.
Don't get involved. There's nothing to gain here. That a-hole is looking for their 15 minutes, and they want you to give it to them.
And in the social media day and age we live in, there's no way that the players
Good point. Camera
can
comes
do
out
that.
right
Yeah,
away.
Like,
exactly,
Immediately,
and
the
then-
camera phones in their face. I got to be honest. I've never had a problem with calling in sports for guys' jobs. I know there's a human angle to it, as you said, Bob, with the, for the husbands and fathers and all that. But I've often said, if you get a job in football, you have a job for life. It doesn't matter how bad you are. You'll bounce back. You make connections, and Sean Desai will be hired in about 2 minutes as somebody's secondaries coach or whatever. So he gets paid a lot of money. Comes with the territory of the criticism, and I'm sorry, but he's not doing the job. With that said, I'm sitting here saying it with a microphone. I'm not going down and putting it in the guy's face. And I do think there is something to be said for like ignorance. Ignorance being bliss, and the fact that he went down there and did it, it's just, dude, just
looking to be, looking to create something.
Like, what do you think's going to happen? Like, Nick Sirianni's going to drive by you and go, oh, okay.
Oh, we're going to bring it. He
what
saw
a good thought.
We'll saw
we'll
the guy
fire him.
the guys get coffee last week. He was probably.
You think he did it because he wanted free coffee?
No, he was thinking that Homegrown Coffee and Creations maybe was there at the NovaCare facility and giving out sandwiches and free coffee.
If he thought that Homegrown Coffee was there, I understand trying to make a name for yourself.
You do.
In that situation, I do, okay? Because, yeah, I'd make a sign that says, I'd make a sign that says fire me for their sandwich. But I don't think that was the case. I think he just wanted to, as you said, get 15 minutes of fame.
You've gotten tinny all of a sudden.
Yeah, it sounds weird.
We all gotten tinny.
Sounds,
there, it stopped. It stopped.
It
Whatever
sounds,
it was.
yeah.
It was a little tinny. You said though, if you were making a sign,
yeah, what would it say?
Yours would be what?
I got to think about it. I was going to throw it to you guys first.
Okay.
Like if you had to go, if you were one of these guys that goes down to the NovaCare complex the day after a game, and you got your Sharpie, and you went to Staples, and you made a little poster board, what would it say?
Stop reinventing the wheel.
Ooh, I like that.
In
Go
what
back,
way?
go back and look at what was successful last year and start to do more of it because they've changed so much. They've changed so much,
Yeah.
and people be like, "Well, the league caught up to them." No, bull crap.
No, it
they
looks
didn't do what last year's team did.
Looks completely different.
Their offense has looked different since week 1.
I like that a lot.
So there's two different signs. Offense might be stop reinventing the wheel
Okay.
or whatever. Offense, I would say something. I would have two different signs. Offense, be more diverse or do something different. Some like have fun with it or something to the effect of just try some different things. Get that jet sweep back in there. Get your slanting patterns, maybe your go-to play. Don't forget about your tight end. How about you draw some just normal screens to your running backs coming out of the, use your offensive line. It's a long sign. Use your
Listen, I don't even think this is a million signs.
This is a bit much, man.
Or the print would be so small.
I'd be like that person that just keeps, going back and forth.
Love Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Bob
Yeah.
But yeah, more intuitive on the offense. How about that?
All right,
I like it more intuitive.
I would have two signs, and it would say, check your ego at the door.
Love it.
And then the next sign would say, because this isn't working.
Whose ego is
All of them. All of them. I think
Slay and A.J. Brown.
I don't think the play. I think I'm talking coaching staff. Like I think it's Sirianni. I think it's Desai. I think it's Brian Johnson. I think all three of them need to realize, like, yes, your record is very good. It's very impressive. You're one of the best teams, blah, blah, blah. There are deficiencies with this team, and we've seen it all year. And you might be blinded because, well, hey, it's working. But we look at it, invested in this team in our DNA, we look at it like, yeah, but that could keep you from a Super Bowl. And they look at it like, we're all right. Like, well, what are you talking about? It's working. Everything's great. But it's not. And you've seen the deficiencies rear their ugly head the last 2 weeks.
The 10-win season used to be a thing with, we got really comfortable with it with Andy Reid. The 10-win season, and then that became a talking point of negativity. Well, it hasn't led to Super Bowls. I'm a believer you got to knock on the door in the NFL. You got to keep knocking on the door. Rarely is it you come out of left field and you go win a Super Bowl and then you go on a run. I'd say the Patriots story of 2001 was an oddity. The Tom Brady comes in, it's out of nowhere, does something. I think you got to knock on the door. You got to keep being in the mix, and then one of those years things breaks for you, like in 2017.
Kind of like what the Phillies are doing now. Yeah.
You got to keep doing it. Keep knocking on that door until you kick it in.
Yeah. No, you're not going to win if you're not in contention.
No.
You just don't come out of nowhere and all of a sudden win Super Bowls usually. So, yeah, we'll reevaluate when this year is done. It's one of the things, whether they win a Super Bowl or not, you have to reevaluate. It was one of the things that I was disappointed in, and I said it at the time. After the Eagles won the Super Bowl and everybody was like, I'm good for 10 years, I remember Anthony get mad. I said, why didn't they do anything to this defensive backfield? Like, they just won a Super Bowl was what everybody was saying. I was looking to better the team.
I wanted to get younger.
And they didn't. Like, they just didn't. So after this year, what are we going to evaluate? Well, obviously linebacker, safety, cornerbacks, and maybe you have some retirements on the offensive line. There's going to be plenty to do.
Well, as you bring up with the Phillies, I think it's one of those things where, and Jason Stark spoke about it the other week, rolling it back that's not usually a successful formula. It's just, we're going to run it back. We're going to do the same thing we've done the last 2 years, and it's going to work this time. That doesn't, and that was Jason said that's his biggest concern about the Phillies. And that's surprising to me because they should be a playoff team. Basically, you go into the season with that expectation that they should be going in.
Yeah.
No excuses for not.
It is bold by them to do. But then again, they have so much money tied up in a lot of players that you look at where do they need to go? Like you could do what you want and trade a Castellanos or a Schwarber, but that might be cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Change for change.
Change for change.
You mean like energy around the team or something?
Yeah,
like that?
yeah. I mean,
Schwarber, I'd worry about that much more than Castellanos.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like Schwarber's loved in that
the
locker
vibe
room,
guy.
Yeah, even when he's not performing well at the plate, his just leadership
like upgrading
oozes out.
but like upgrading backup catcher. And people and
Yeah.
today I brought it up on the air. People were like, seriously, you're like worried about them upgrading backup catcher? I am, because JT Real Muto, I want to be more effective. I want him to be a guy who is, when he's in 2 years from now, he's still an effective player because you didn't break his wheels off him.
I understand that point completely. Rob Thompson, though, has shown in 2 years, and it might be because of the backup catcher, but he's shown in 2 years he just doesn't. He doesn't like to give JT rest.
Know why?
Like, I think he's driving him in the ground. But it's chicken and egg. Like, if you have a better backup catcher, does he get more rest?
And let JT that day be the
one thing that I thought Girardi actually did well.
I do too.
Was he gave JT options of, okay, we're gonna get you out behind the plate. You can play first base here. You can play DH.
Well, you're gonna pick 4 or 5 games.
I remember that.
I think I remember them saying something along the lines of, you're gonna pick some games.
Well, I remember the one game he
don't
came
work.
in and he wasn't in the lineup, and he was like, "Oh, f that."
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, like I'm in the lineup today. You're putting me somewhere, and they put him at first base. You know,
He's a factor in all of it, I believe. I
you
really
think as
do.
far as just I
do.
want to be there.
I think he says to Thompson, "Look, I know I'm 33. I can go 145 behind the plate. Like I just can. That's how I'm
that
built.
tells me though.
That's how I'm made up. I know. I hear you.
Inmates running the asylum then.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind that. It's like, look, pro sports is different than college and high school, where the
Amen.
coaches, this is what I say, this is what you're going to do. No, these are grown men. They talk it out. They say, hey, how you doing? Do you, I was thinking of sitting you today. Nah, I'm okay to go. Okay, then you go. Like, I don't think they're inmates running the asylum. I think it's a collaborative effort of running the asylum.
We talked earlier about the Torts interview that we'd had before the season started, and Torts said that's the best question I've ever got from
Bob.
From Bob. Do you remember the question?
Who checks you?
So
yes,
JT Realmuto as the catcher is the guy that normally the coach will come out and check with the catcher. Hey, how's the pitcher doing? Right? Like, well, who's checking JT?
Yeah.
Like, who's the guy that's going like, yeah, JT's kind of struggling right now. Look, pride is huge in sports, right? Like, you don't want to admit, hey, I'm struggling right now. You want to work your way out of it. Somebody needs to check JT at times and go, look, it's fine to sit, man. Like, you're not going to get Wally pipped
That's
here.
why you're the manager. Yeah.
Who's checking Sirianni? Nick Sirianni. Who's checking him? He hires 2 inexperienced coordinators, so they're not going to climb the pecking order and be
the guy with the trash cans.
Wait, did he hire them?
Kidding.
Well, I mean, he was the one. He said they were his, but he did it with Howie and Jeff Lurie involved.
Right. So I
But I
don't
mean,
think
still,
we
though-
can use that against him.
Well,
I don't
he
think
wanted
we can
he
say-
wanted Brian Johnson. That is on the record. He wanted Brian Johnson. He
Well,
got
he's
his
not
way.
going to go on the record and say I didn't want him.
He got his way. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know how much I can trust what he says behind a mic.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's always going to
Well, who checks him?
toe the company line, but that's a good question,
Howie?
Mike. I guess Howie.
Yeah, has to be your boss.
But the thing is, here's the thing is I don't like is I've had program directors before in this business, thankfully not now, that never did my job. And I would go, like when they're telling me to do something, I'd say, but you never did my job. You don't understand what I do for a living. Whereas I don't understand how a GM like Howie could question a head coach and really check him. Other than just like telling him what organization philosophy is, but check him. Howie's never called a game. Howie's never called a defense. Howie's never been an offensive coordinator. I mean, it just seems hard to me that somebody wouldn't be there. That's why I wanted a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator that was a veteran. Somebody who could say, hey, Nick, I've done this before. I've been a head coach. I've done this. You're heading down a wrong path here.
They tried, right? I mean, they had Vic Fangio, and he would have been, and Schefter told us, he would have been the DC.
The old Cincinnati coach that they were playing footsie with.
Pete Rose.
No.
Dick LeBeau.
Not Dick LeBeau. A coach who was in Cincinnati forever. That's an offensive coordinator somewhere.
Smith.
I wanted somebody to be.
Oh, Marv Lewis?
Yeah, Marv
Lewis.
I wanted somebody to be a veteran in his ear. I wanted there to be a Phillips type, a Bum Phillips type in the young coach's ear. First thing Sean McVay did is say, find me a veteran defensive coordinator. That's the first thing he did when he got hired.
What is it? Go ahead.
Doesn't that go against the MO of Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman?
Yeah,
Andy
they want to
Reid-
hire inexperienced.
Andy Reid, nobody comes in, boom. Doug Peterson never was a head coach before, boom. Nick Sirianni never was a head coach before, boom. Like, is that just part of their makeup?
It might
They
be.
Want to,
And by the way, their hiring practices are really damn good.
And they usually will promote from within. They don't really do, like, for example, Marty Morningway becomes OC when Brad Childress goes to Minnesota, but Marty Morningway had been brought in to be like the quarterback's coach. You know, it wasn't like just an outside hire. It was, okay, we're going to bring it, kind of like what they tried to do with Vic Fangio. Like, we're going to bring you as an analyst and kind of a guy that we can, you know, pick your brain, but then we'll elevate you. I think it speaks volumes, and I'm sitting here watching a 10-3 football team going, man, I really, really hope they go deep into the playoffs, and one of the reasons why is because Brian Johnson will be gone. Like, I shouldn't feel that way.
And you should.
Because when Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon got hired at Elks Place, I was pissed. I was like, damn, like, I wanted one more year with those guys. And with Brian Johnson, I go, oh, my God, please, somebody get fooled by this and just take him.
And that's where I wanted to end with, real quickly, because we don't have a lot of time. If Gannon and Steichen were here, this team would not be looking like this. They would not be playing like this.
Could not agree more.
Yeah,
I think this team would be playing a lot cleaner.
Could not agree more.
But I don't know that their record would be much different.
It might not be.
It might be one win different. So it's weird. They've sort of stumbled into it. But we'll get into it lots more tomorrow. And we appreciate everybody who came out today for our special Tuesday broadcast. And D'Angelo Cataldi, thank you very much for taking a lot of grief for coming here today. And I greatly appreciate that he did it. And people in radio need to lighten up a little bit. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, David